Well, and that's what we do. We go out to Israelites in black and brown neighborhoods, and we teach them to stop being violent against each other.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what that is. That's not talking about another nation doing something to us. Christ never talked to other nations.
He never talked to other nations.
Except that one white woman, he called her dog a female dog. You know what a female dog is? Yes. Oh, you could say that. Yeah, so he called the white woman a
Jesus called a white woman a
Yeah, he said it's not good. He said it's not good to take the children's bread and cast it to the dogs.
Oh, Jesus.
That's what he said.
Lady. He called a baddie.
Jesus was a gangster. You know, he beat. Excuse me, he beat.
Captain Tazaryach.
Yes, indeed.
Welcome to the show.
You know, you one of the rare guys that say my name right. They usually say Tazaryach. There's no E in my name. It's just Tazaryach. You actually said it correct.
Wow, I practiced it in the mirror like 100 times, so I'm glad I got it right.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it, man. I'm glad you got it.
All right, so we're gonna have a fun convo today.
Definitely.
There could be some stuff that gets a little contentious, but you're about that life.
Definitely about that life, yeah.
So for the people out there who are unfamiliar with you, obviously in a minute I'm going to have you, we're going to go through your background and everything, but I got connected to you through, I guess, our mutual friend Tommy G.
Yeah.
And so Tommy had done a documentary back when he was here filming with me. He, Keegan, and Miguel went out and did a documentary with you and the Black Israelites in New York City. He said it was wild. He's like, you got to talk to this guy. It's insane. And so I was like, okay, let's hear out what this is. Then I saw the documentary, which we will have linked in the description below. It was hilarious and also pretty informative on what you do. And I was like, I think this merits a longer conversation just to see where you're coming from, what you're about, and everything.
Okay, no, I thought that was cool.
So let's start here. Where are you from, and did you grow up like a part of this kind of movement? Were your parents a part of it, or how did it become a part of your life?
I grew up. So I was born and raised in Jersey City, New Jersey. Lived there most of my life. I think I was in Jersey City up until '99. I had a brief stint in the military from like 4 to 97 or 95, 97. And but outside of that, I've always lived in Jersey City. So I grew up primarily Christian. My grandfather was a pastor. My father and my uncles, they used to have like little singing groups and stuff like that, which was Christian based primarily. Now we listen, to all type of music and stuff like that, but from a spiritual background, I would say it was like primarily Christian, almost Muslim when that Malcolm movie came out.
Oh yeah,
Denzel Washington.
92.
Denzel Washington made a lot of black people become Muslim just off the movie. Even if
really?
Because even if you didn't know nothing about the Nation of Islam and what they believed in, that movie on Malcolm was so inspiring. Like when he did like this and did like that and they moved. Yeah. Like to see that type of militancy of brothers, it sparked people to get into it. So I was close to being a Muslim, but my belief in Christianity at the time, Christ said there would be false prophets after me. So Muhammad was just a false prophet. So that's why I wouldn't go into Islam. So I loved the movie, but not that. So I didn't get into being an Israelite till about September. I started being intrigued by it in September of 2009. Now I had already heard, I would always hear like pockets like Jesus is black. I remember Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston went to Dimona, Israel, got baptized in the water saying they Israelites. So I would always hear about that stuff, but it was never, I was out in the world doing all type of evil shit. So it didn't really, hustling. It could be hustling, selling drugs, smoking weed, stuff like that. So being super spiritual wasn't on my radar. And where I was hanging out, it wasn't really on my radar to live what you would call a righteous life. But I would be like, you ever see Minister Society?
Oh, of course. Great
so
movie.
I would be like, now I wasn't no punk like him, but I would be like him, that guy Sharif, that every time they would be hustling and stuff like that, he'd be trying to drop some knowledge or something like that. So I would be that guy to where I would be somebody that would be like, man, we got to stop hustling, or we got to stop. So occasionally I would have those moments. And so by the time 2009 came, I wasn't hustling no more. I was working in like corporate America. Like I was a software specialist, a certified wireless network administrator. And so I was into that field. So, but I still like, smoked and, did other stuff, but I didn't do nothing, no like illegal. Well, I guess technically was illegal, but
yeah, minor inconvenience.
Yeah. So, but and so I started stumbling upon this information about us being Israelites, and I can't tell you what really sparked me to take it more serious than I did before. I remember Jay-Z had this song said "Jesus Can't Save You." In the Empire State, the song with Alicia Keys, New York, Concrete Jungle. So in the third verse of that song, he said, "And Jesus can't save you. Life starts when the church ends." And that's the only earmark I had where I was like, "Man, why would he say that?" And then I started stumbling upon videos that was talking about like blood sacrifices and how black people killing their family and friends to make money in the industry. And then along, on YouTube, you'll be watching one video and then it'll have suggested videos on the side. So in the suggested videos on the side, it said, black people are Israelites. And so I clicked the video, and from watching that one video, I was hooked. And the information was lining up. Like I had read the Bible like 4 or 5 times, so I was familiar with like the stories and stuff like that, but I clearly didn't have any understanding of it, because now when I'm looking at it from the lens of us being the people of the book, it was just an eye opener and life changer. So that's kind of how I got.
What about it though? Like struck you? Because obviously it hit something deep inside you, some form of like even finding your identity or things like that. Like what about? Do you remember like the specifics of that video that drew it?
Well, it wasn't so much. Okay, so the video, of course, drew me in, but when it's saying that we're the people of God, like I always believed in Christ. I always believed in God. Even when I was out in the world, and most black people are like that. Most black people, they'll walk around with the little cross and stuff like that, and they'll say, "Oh, Jesus know my heart," and all that stuff. So we all have, like Romans 10:1 says, we have a zeal for God, but not according to knowledge. So now as I'm watching this video, now it's giving me the knowledge, and the identity part really was the kicker for me. Because if you ask 10 black people who they are, you're going to get 10 different answers. There's no uniformity. Even if you ask 10 white people what they are, the only thing that'll be uniform is they'll know their ethnicity. They'll know if they're Irish, if they're German, if they're Sicilian, if they're Italian, if they're Polish. You ask black people what they are, it's mainly what they believe in that identifies them. Whether it's Baptist, Muslim, Methodist, Christian, atheist. They're not going to give you, well, because they try to say we're Africans. They ain't going to say, well, I'm Chikunku from the Kakungu tribe or something like that. They're not going to say.
Sorry to be laughing, but it's kind of funny.
This shit is funny, man. I'm saying it. I don't like Africans, so I'm saying it to be funny.
Oh, you don't like Africans?
No, we don't like Africans. No.
Wait, how does this? How does this work? What happened there?
So we're not African people. You can't be an Israelite and an African at the same time.
All right, maybe we should define that now so people can understand. Because my thought, just like when I first heard it and hadn't seen anything about it, my thought was, okay, I assume this has of course it's some sort of biblical interpretation, but it has something to do with the fact that you guys think that you originally emanated from there, which means like every other type of person that's ever existed too. If you emanate from somewhere, you spread out to other places over human history. But it sounds like that's not the case.
No, we don't. So biblically speaking, Africans, so Noah, when you follow the Bible, Noah had 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth.
Right.
Hamites is where Africans come from.
Okay.
So, and you can even in the Bible dictionary, the Zondervan Bible Dictionary would tell you Ham was the progenitor of the dark races, but not the Negro. It actually says that in there. That's a white Bible. So even y'all know that.
It says that?
Yeah. If you Google Zondervan Bible Dictionary, as a matter of fact, I think I have the Bible Dictionary on my phone. If I can if I can pull it for you, I'll show you. And so in there, it'll tell you that we are not Africans. So the progenitor of Ham became the progenitor of like the Egyptians, the Libyans, the Canaanites, Ethiopians, etc. So when you look at the bloodline or the ethnic line, Abraham comes from Shem.
Yeah.
So he's totally separate from Ham.
Got it.
Just like Arabs. Arabs wouldn't be Ham either. Y'all, white people, y'all not Hamites either. We all come from a Shemitic bloodline. You know, they'll probably say this is controversial. I don't know how they'll look at it, but when we always talk about the origin of white people, even our concept is different than what most people think.
How's your concept different?
Because Jacob and Esau, Jacob became the progenitor of what you call blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians today. Esau became the progenitor of white people. And so we share the same Isaac and Rebecca, mother and father.
And me do.
Yeah, in origin.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. But God said, when God spoke to Rebecca in Genesis 25 and 23, he said, 2 manner of people are in your wombs, because we was fighting in the womb.
Oh, we were duking it out in there.
Yeah, we was, because as we fighting and struggling in the womb, Rebecca goes to the Lord and say, why is this happening? And God told her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. That's why, though Jacob and Esau was brothers, Esau's way of living and lifestyle was in total contrast to Jacob's way of living and lifestyle, which is what we are today. Black and white, we damn near can't separate from each other or join each other without conflict.
Interesting.
Like y'all won't let us free.
Why not?
You gotta ask your people.
You're not free right now?
No, we ain't free. We in a halfway house.
What do you mean you're in a halfway house?
So you know,
all
like
right, it's starting. Let's go.
Yeah. So you know, like in the halfway house, you're not like in prison. So you're not like on 24-hour lockdown. So in the halfway house, you get to move around a little bit and stuff like that. Got freedom, but don't go too far.
Right.
That's black people in America. We're in a halfway house, because if you ever enslave a people and then you say that they're free, but then they still have to live where they were enslaved, how could they be free? I always use like the Jewish people, for example. They didn't leave them in Germany. They had to go find a land, which when you look up like design, am I limited to what I can say?
No, you can say whatever you want.
So like when you look at the origin of the movement, the Middle East wasn't the first location. Israel wasn't the first location, the state of Israel. They was looking in Africa. They looked in Africa. Yeah. They even looked as far as in South America for a land to put them so that they wouldn't be around their oppressor. So when it comes to black people, we have been forced to stay around our oppressor all this time. So that's why I say it's a halfway house.
Well, then there were movements like Marcus Garvey, like 60 years later, was like, oh, we should go back to Africa or whatever.
Right.
But a lot of people didn't. So what does that say about the relative feelings of quote-unquote oppression if a lot of black people who saw movements like this with powerful guys like a Garvey rise up and still decide to stay here? Does that mean that it's because they feel like this is a better option than going back there?
Well, in the I think it was like 1860 or 1865, there was a set of black people that actually went back to Africa because this is like around the time when slavery is abolished, even though they were still transporting slaves for a time after that. And so you had black people that actually went back to Africa and like the Sierra Leone areas and stuff like that. And when they went back over there, because the Africans was still a part of exporting slaves, they just went to war with them. And they ended up going to war up until the 1980s, where they took them and actually beheaded them to get rid of them. So it's like you going from one people that hate us to another people that hate us. Because everybody looks at, when we think about slavery, we think about the white man going into African soil, beating up the Africans and then taking slaves, when it didn't work like that. The white man made treaties with the African rulers, and then the African rulers captured the slaves and then brought them in. The white man didn't have to go to war with Africans to enslave. It was a very organized slave trade.
How do you feel about the fact that that was a part of the history where you did have people who look like you selling their own kind?
Well, we don't look at it as they look like us selling our own kind. We looked at it as a tribe against another tribe. That's why we don't like Africans today. Like the Hamitic tribes or the African tribes that sold us, we're not the same people. So the main issue I have is when we have this information, when people say we're African, it's almost disrespectful because African as a continent has like 40 to 50 countries within there. So when you say you're African, like what does that mean? Because now you got to break down which country you're from. And once you get into a country, you got villages, you got subsidiaries that all exist within that continent. So to say African is crazy. And then when you say American, so now we 2 continents.
But it's also, if we're going to play that game, and I actually agree with that point, it's also kind of crazy when we just say like white though too. Because white can mean you be a waspy Anglo-Saxon from England, or you could be like they consider Italian, Greeks white,
or Irish,
exactly. I'm Italian-Irish, right? The Irish is more, like what you would think is like white, and then the Italian is usually darker skin or whatever, which apparently I missed out on. But you know what I mean? Like it's always a little different, but we put it all in one bucket.
I agree with that. So like these colloquial terms, this is what y'all created: black, white, Spanish, Mexican. That's not what they were originally called. Those are what y'all made up. So when we say white, sometimes you might hear us even say so-called white, because we would call
so-called white.
Yeah, so we would call y'all Edomites or Esau, just like we would say so-called black. So now, depending if we're just having a general conversation, we will use those modern terms of white, black, etc. But most of the time, or a lot of times, you hear us say the so-called white man did this, the so-called black man is this. So we usually, or so-called African is that, because it's what they call today. But like you said, white could be Irish white, it could be Russian white, it could be German white, it could be Jewish white, because Jewish is white people too to us. We don't separate Jewish people from white people.
You don't? Why not?
Because you're the same tribe.
We're part of the same tribe?
Yeah, Jewish people, they just the chief of all white people. White people usually get mad when I say
What do you mean they're the chief of all white people?
If white people had a hierarchy, Jewish people are the creme de la creme of...
Why?
Look at them. Look how they rule. They run everything.
Around the world, you're saying?
Everywhere.
But there's a lot of people who aren't Jewish who run everything, though, too.
I didn't say that they run everything. But that's what I'm saying in the hierarchy. At the top would be Jewish people. Then you might have some Russians and Germans, Italians.
But what about, like, you look at, like, successful ethnic groups and stuff. Like, for example, the Nigerians. They're like the smartest people I've ever met in my life. They're all like
scammingest people.
There's also there's a side of that, right? But then you see people who have come here from Nigeria or whatever, besides like the scammers, the FBI and Secret Services after, and it's like they're doctors, they're like the Rhodes Scholars, they're running businesses and everything. But they actually, and I've heard this in the past. Obviously, I'm not Nigerian, so I haven't been subjected to it. But I've heard in the past that like there will be some animosity sometimes within the black community towards Nigerians because of that success. And sometimes I see the same thing like with Jewish people, because like they stick together very well and then they get real successful. And some of that people may feel like some of it's like self-serving. I hear that. But then other parts of it are like, well, they're educating themselves and they're a smaller ethnic group, so they get successful. So why shouldn't other ethnic groups like try to do that?
I think it's a good thing in this regard, because I think every community has a right to deal with themselves. So I'm not against Jewish people being with themselves. We say so-called Jews about them too, because they're not the real Jews. So we say that too.
Who's the real Jews?
We are.
Wait, so you don't like Jesus?
Jesus is a Jew, but Jesus wouldn't. If you saw Christ today, you would not see this white man that says he's a Jew.
Was Jesus black, you're saying?
Yeah, he would look like what you would call a black person today. It said he had hair like wool, skin of bronze as if it burned in the furnace. When Moses was talking to God, right? God told Moses put his hand in his bosom, it came out white. When he put his hand in his bosom, took it back out, it was like his rest of his body.
When was that?
That's Exodus, like the 4th chapter in the Bible. And it's and Solomon said, I am black, but comely. The word Bible. Why you think I wear this jacket? Say real university.
Right on the back, right?
Yeah, I got a shirt on. It's on the front too.
All right, let's not show that on camera.
Yeah, say I was smart. Yeah. Say I was smart.
You're marking these spots, right, on the N-word. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't have to say the word.
No. You can. We just gotta.
Oh, okay. I got you.
So clean it up for the YouTube overlay.
Yeah. So, but it's back to the point about the Nigerians and then us not liking them. It's because what America has done is given other ethnicities their greatest cattle, which is us. And so what I mean by that is when other nations come over here, they're allowed to infiltrate Black and Hispanic communities.
Who allows them to do that?
America.
Why?
Because I'm gonna tell you. So when you go back to, you said that when the Jewish community is small and if they stick to themselves, what's wrong with that? Well, if you go historically, when Black people were so-called free from slavery, we stuck to ourselves in our cities. You had your Black Wall Street, you had your Rosewood, you had your Paradise, you had Seneca Village in New York City. And as we was doing those things, we began to flourish and really show America that we didn't need their dependency as much as they thought we would need their dependency. We was able to establish banks, hospitals, colleges, educational systems, institutions. We was able to do all those things. And so that's where two things happen at once, where they start burning down our cities, like they burned down Black Wall Street out of jealousy.
What years are we in?
This is 1921.
Okay.
1921.
Who burned it down?
You people did. You know, there's never...
Not my people. Hey, hold on a minute. I don't claim them.
Okay.
Do you claim O.J. Simpson?
Yeah, I claim O.J. Simpson.
What do you mean you claim O.J. Simpson?
Why not? O.J. Simpson was found not guilty by your system.
Oh, boy.
Was he not?
Listen, he was.
Do you claim Trump?
No. I don't claim it. I don't claim anyone that, like, I don't fully, like, that's not my family or, you know, people I personally know. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Or, like, you know...
Yeah, so when I'm saying claim him, I'm not saying I stand with everything OJ did.
That's good.
But the reason why you don't want me to claim him is because you believe he unalived a white woman. But the court of law says...
Probably.
Right, but the court of law says he didn't. Meanwhile, Donald Trump was found guilty. Donald Trump was found guilty of 34 felonies.
They were kind of bullshit charges, though, whether you like them or not.
Okay, but see how you making an excuse for the white guy who was found guilty, but OJ who was found innocent, you don't want him to be with me.
But hold on a minute. That's a few hush money payments. This is hacking up a body.
I'm just talking about guilty and innocent.
Okay.
He was like, let's just think about it. When has a Black man in America been found not guilty of unaliving a white woman?
I could probably find some examples, but your point is taken. It is certainly this seems to be a bit of a stacked deck there.
Yes, listen. I was in the military. I was in basic training, Fort Knox.
What made you want to join the military, by the way?
I thought that it would be a way to escape drug dealing.
Interesting.
So my sister I got a twin sister, right? So my sister, she joins the military. And she's writing me, and I talked to her. She was like, "You really need to come. It's not that bad." And I didn't want to go. But I was hustling. And so one day I'm on a corner and we hustling and the D's came and they searched and they found a stash of dope and they was like, if we don't find this dope on none of y'all all going to jail. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what your lens is, they found the dope on 2 people. They locked them up. And I said I didn't want to go to jail for somebody else's drugs. And so I went and joined the military and then found out they selling more drugs in the military than they are on my block, right on the barracks. I mean, when I get to my permanent, I get to my permanent duty station, Fort Hood, Texas. My barracks was
in Texas.
Yeah,
they were doing this in Texas.
In Texas, my barracks was on the 3rd floor. On the 2nd floor, you can get the same dope, weed, heroin, everything. White guy selling it right on the 2nd floor in the barracks. And I said, well, what did I join the military? I'm joining the military to escape, thinking I'm escaping drugs. And just to find out they selling all the drugs there. So that's what made me join the military. But when I was in basic training in Fort Knox, when OJ got found not guilty, them cornbread drill sergeants gave us so many push-ups and flutter kicks. It was insane. We was flutter kicking like a motherfucker. God. They was like found not guilty, found not guilty. And they must have seen us. They must have seen the black kids. They must have seen, like, damn, yeah, he got found not guilty. And they looking at us. Oh, my God. We did so much PT, it was insane. But back to the point, though, we can't condemn an innocent man. He was found innocent.
I'll give you this.
Mm-hmm.
In the structure of how we're supposed to be set up constitutionally, that is correct.
Right.
If the government, which in this case, I'm happy to say this, if the government didn't do their job to the best ability to put the case to the test, where they were not able to, beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury, convict the guy, then yes, you are technically supposed to say that. I just say that because that one was one where it was painfully obvious the prosecution was like preposterously bad. And OJ obviously had the best defense team ever put together.
Or maybe he just didn't do it. I mean, I don't know.
Listen, I'll say this. I do think there's a 2 or 3% chance his son did it. That's always been a hot take.
Oh, yeah?
But I think there's a not 0% chance his son did it.
Well,
because
he dead
fathers,
now.
Father and their son, that's a different kind of thing.
I mean, he dead now, so I mean, we can't do nothing, but we got a guilty man as president. That's crazy.
Technically, yeah.
And it's not technical. You can't say technically.
It's kind of technically.
How is it he was found guilty?
Yeah, but it was in New York.
What does that mean?
They don't like him there. You know what I mean?
That don't count, man. You said that, listen, only in America can a criminal run. That's why he got the cabinet he got.
Well, we're still seeing it come together.
Right. He's the biggest criminal no matter what. He's a convicted. The president's a convicted felon. Only in America can you do that. That made me think of Don King right there.
You know what, though? You ever seen in The Godfather and Godfather Part 2, in one of the early scenes, where Michael's sitting there and the senator's lecturing him. He's like, I don't like you with your silky suit and olive oil hair. You don't lay one finger on me and I never want to hear from you again. He just like finishes his cigarette and he looks at him. He goes, Senator, we're both a part of the same hypocrisy. So that's how I look at it.
Right.
When you look at the presidents and you look at the senators, I'm not trying to overgeneralize here, but I'm going to generalize for a minute hypocritically. There's a criminal element to all of them.
I absolutely agree with that. And so when they bring the other ethnicities into black communities, they sell them us. We're the fuel that runs America. So they'll tell the Chinese people, put your store in our place. They'll tell the Arabs, put your store in our place. They tell the East Indian, put your store in our place. But our stores don't get a chance to flourish.
Who is telling them this?
America.
Can I meet this guy?
The American government does.
The American government's telling them. Okay. All right, so
and it's partly, and that's so the other part I wanted to say was part of it was our fault too, because there's a lot of white what's the right? Yeah, there was this picture I saw where they had this picture of Superman. It was a white Superman, it was a black kid looking up to him. Mm-hmm. And so in some cases, mentally, black people suffer from a Stockholm syndrome where we consistently looking up to the white man's standards. So we look up to him, what he desires, what he loves. And so when we was having our cities at those times, some rich, uppity black people still wanted to be accepted by white people. And so that's where you started seeing integration come in as well, when it was better to not. You take the Negro League.
You didn't want integration. Mm-mm. If you could rewrite history, you want separation.
Yeah, segregation, not separation. There's no way that we can live in the same country and be separated. So we have to interact with each other. So what I mean by segregation, our family, our education, our hospital, our doctorate, our way of life can be separated. Economically, we can do whatever we want.
So you want it to be like the things in, say, the 50s and 60s at the height of the civil rights movement that they tried, that the
civil rights was
changed.
The dumbest thing. They didn't change anything. They made it worse.
How so?
Before civil rights, before Brown versus Board of Education, that was another dagger. Like our education, it hasn't been the same since Brown versus Board of Education.
That was 954?
Yeah, in the 54, yep. So we looking at it like we got to have white education, but we're looking for white education after we're already establishing colleges. We're already, it's like
HBCUs.
Why you call them HB? Historically, because historically they were built during a time that you would think we wouldn't be able to build them. So black people, I think, was susceptible. The League is another example.
Baseball.
Yep. The League was where Jackie Robinson, Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson, all of them is kicking ass. And now here's where I say the government or America. Because when you think about a baseball team, right? Let's take, what's your favorite baseball team?
Phillies.
The Phillies? Okay. So when you go to a Phillies game, when you get hungry, you're going to patronize the vendors that sell hot dogs and burgers. When you want to get something to drink, you're going to patronize those vendors. When you want to buy the memorabilia or the jerseys, you're going to patronize those vendors. So that one baseball team provides a revenue source for other businesses that surround it.
Right.
So when we had the League, you take the St. Louis Monarchs, they provide a source for other businesses to generate revenue as well. Now, when Jackie Robinson comes along and R.A. Dickey, who is the owner of the Dodgers, come along and say, well, we want to bring you in, Jackie Robinson think his agenda is just to show black, which is going to be white man, he can hit the black baseball, which is going to be white baseball, as good as the black baseball. R.A. Dickey's agenda was to destroy the League, and he did it.
Is that what his agenda was? Like, how do you know that was his agenda?
That's history. Now, I would recommend a book you can read called $40 Million Slave, where they go into the history of the Negro League and how it was destroyed. That's written by a black man. You might not trust it, though.
Why would I not trust it? I read everything by everyone.
So read $40 Million Slave. It'll show you R.A. Dickey said that he was going to use the civil rights and our desire to integrate to get rid of the because R.A. Dickey is looking at it from a competition perspective. Now, here's the difference. When the ABA and WNBA existed at the same time, excuse me, I didn't mean to say W. When the ABA, when the ABA and the NBA existed at the same time, when they merged allowing ABA teams to still exist. They didn't defunct the ABA. Right.
That's right.
But with the Negro League, they defunct it. They don't exist no more.
Okay, so you think that there was outside of the, I guess, honorable idea of like, oh, we're all going to play together. You think there was a business idea to it? It
was a business idea to eradicate these black people's businesses. And black people fell for it too. So I don't absolve black people and make them innocent. And like the white man just came. And that's why I said our desire to look up to whiteness really plagues us when we should be proud of our blackness, meaning we should be proud enough to say, this is what we built in our community.
Right. So let's actually get to the core of this before we get to the actual Black Israelite belief system and all that, because people are going to want to have that laid out more and understand what that is. But like, you know, when you're a little kid and you're just seeing the world and you're big-eyed for the first time, like, holy shit, wow, look at all this stuff around me. You don't know the difference between people. You can physically see things like, oh, that guy looks different than that guy or whatever. But like, as an example, when I was, I think like 4 or 5, I think I was 4, I became really good friends with a kid at school. And I was telling my mom about him in the car, like after school one day. And she's like, which one is he? Because there's like 30 kids in there. And I'm like, oh, he's like really tan, like really tan. And my mom's like in her head, like putting 2 and 2 together, like, right. I got it. You know,
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And she was just like, you just keep thinking that. That's great.
Right.
You know, and so point being, like, we don't have this thing because it's been established that when it comes down to what we can all do from a human being mental standpoint, we're all the same. We just it's almost like we're the same Apple product coming in a different package sometimes. And for whatever reason, throughout human history, across every race, there's been this ugly history of like people saying, no, my race is better than yours. No, my race is better than yours. Like team politics, if you will. Right. And obviously, we'll get into that today because it seems like you're continuing that trend. But like, do you?
No, I'm not in a race.
You're not continuing that trend.
No, I'm not interested in a race being better than another race.
Really?
I'm only interested in our race being able to be left alone from being attacked by other races. We're more defense. We have this slogan like defenders of the faith. We don't go on offense against no other race to belittle them because they're white, Asian, African, etc. We are speaking in response to what has happened to us continuously. So if let's say when they so-called freed the slaves, that they left us alone and It didn't bother us. It would be a horrible event in history, but they would have made amends, for whatever crimes that they did, and then we're just living in the country where we have to own up to our own responsibilities, which we still have to own up to our own responsibilities. But this is in no way to make it, I'm better than this white guy, I'm better than this African. No, that's not what ISUPK is about.
That's not what you want to do.
No, we just want to be left alone for all intents and purposes. And left alone means take your drugs, take your Planned Parenthood, take that LBGTQ or LGBTQs, that's how some people might say it. Take all of that with you and stop putting that on us. Stop attacking black men. Take your feminist movement. Like, that's what we want.
How were they attacking black men?
The feminist movement was infiltrated. Gloria Steinem from the CIA worked with Angela Davis and others to teach the black woman that her feminist movement meant she didn't need a man. Whereas the white feminist movement, they just wanted a better job.
Wait, Gloria Steinem was CIA?
Mm-hmm.
Can we look this up?
Yeah, look that up.
Gloria Steinem, CIA. What? Isn't she like 100 years ago?
Yeah, well, the feminist movement is from the 70s, 60s. From the 60s and 70s.
Am I thinking of the wrong lady? Who's Gloria Steinem?
You're not thinking of Nah, you might be thinking of an R&B, a singer. Are you thinking of a singer? Gloria Estefan?
Let's pull up that article, Leslie. Let's stick that on the screen.
Yeah, this lady.
The one you just had.
Yeah, this lady.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I was thinking of a different lady. All right.
Yeah.
Miss Steinem's CIA connection.
Yeah.
With all the, can you zoom in a little bit, less? Sorry. With all the charges about the Central Intelligence Agency, it is understandable why feminist leader Gloria Steinem is a little touchy about her involvement with and defense of the Central Intelligence Agency over a decade ago. As she puts it, it's some pretty loose talk herself. I don't think it's funny to be lumped with murderers, and if the press is even half right, this is what this group of governmental people are. But as the saying goes, methinks Miss Steinem doeth protest too much. In a recent column quoting her in the Equal Rights Amendment, I referred in passing to Miss Steinem as a former CIA collaborator. This is written by John D. Lofton Jr. Angered by this, Miss Steinem called me, denied any relationship with the CIA, and very nicely threatened me with a lawsuit if I did not, how very CIA of her, if I did not delete the illusion. Mm-hmm. Since she came on pretty strong and had caught me downtown away from and backup source material, I complied and eliminated the reference. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so...
All right, so you think that there could have been some governmental related infiltration that then...
It's always been.
Yeah. I mean, they do infiltrate a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we call it, I think it's like COINTELPRO when they would take...
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you think it's a means of power by hacking the culture, if you will.
Yeah, of destroying us from within, to where they're not gonna, they won't send them in because it'll be obvious. So if it's a bunch of any of it, let's say if it's a bunch of Chinese people and you send a black guy to infiltrate, they're gonna know he's infiltrating because he's black. Right. But if you send a Chinese person in there to infiltrate, it's easier. I ain't saying that he'll succeed or fail, but at least he looks like one of them. So what COINTELPRO or what Gloria and them would do is just find a sellout to infiltrate and then let them do it. Or
what would they do? Like, we know the feminist movement.
Right, the feminist movement is
what were they doing?
Prime example of teaching black women that you don't need a man. Like, which is very oxymoronic in the sense that this black woman is marrying this man, having children with this man, but then says, I don't need a man. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it kind of goes against human biology.
But when you look at the feminist movement from the white side, they're feminist movement because when slavery was over and they got to give up them 40% of slaves that they own, because, white women own 40% of slaves.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I like to say that all the time for my black brothers that like to give white women a pass. I don't give white women a pass.
Yeah, but the white women today weren't the slave owners from back then.
They benefit from it, though.
Yeah, but a lot of them didn't. They came here as an immigrant. You know what I mean? I don't have anyone who was here before 1900.
Okay. For the immigrants, you still benefited because of what your ancestors or what white people established for y'all.
Yeah, but like,
even
how am I ancestor with like George Washington when my family?
I'm not saying every white person. I'm not saying you're an ancestor from all of them, but what white America established was for white Americans, whether they come in as immigrants or not. because black immigrants can't come over here. Like a Haitian can't come over here. They put Haitians.
They're eating the dogs.
I don't even know if that's true or not. I don't believe that that's true or not.
I don't think.
I don't think that's true or not.
It was
but
funny,
it's
though.
good. It is funny and it's good propaganda. Yeah. But I remember when the Haitians came over there, they put them under a damn bridge.
They put them under a bridge.
Yeah, when they came over here, I think this was like 2021 maybe, and they came over here, and nobody would feed them. They came over here because they was escaping the punishments of what white people was doing to them in Haiti. I mean, y'all are horrible race of people.
What were the white people? Listen, don't look at me. But what were the white people doing to them in Haiti? I thought Haiti was run by black people.
No, see, and that'd be the thing. Like, especially America. America has their hands in pretty much every race of people, including like Haiti. So they kind of control the politics and stuff like that over there. Just like they control politics in Puerto Rico, control politics. Only place maybe is Cuba. Cuba the only one they say F y'all, so they ain't.
Cuba's out there.
Yeah, Cuba's out there. So when it comes to those type of politics, they will infiltrate and to eradicate or destroy us from within. And they're good at it. I won't even deny it. Like, y'all are extremely good at that COINTEL, except my organization. My organization is impenetrable from that.
It's impenetrable.
Yeah.
Keegan couldn't get in there.
Now, Keegan came in, but Keegan, when I'm saying infiltrate, like we welcomed him in. That's different. We searched the shit out of him, too.
He might have been a communist spy, dude. Yeah. You never know.
Listen, he recorded everything.
Yeah, he did.
That's right. I tell him to put it all out. Don't hide nothing, Keegan. Put all of that out there.
I love Tommy G. He's like, so I sent the whitest guy I know.
That's what he said. I said the whitest guy I know. We treated him good. He came to a cookout. We fed him. We did everything, man.
For people out there, I'm talking about Tommy G's producer.
Yeah, Tommy G. And he's Keegan. A good kid. He's a good kid.
That's what we were saying. We're like, we think you're going to be safe in the future. We think you'll be an exception. They won't enslave you. It's fine.
We probably... He may not. He just may not be treated as harsh as somebody else. That's all.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get to that part.
Okay.
So
please continue.
Yeah, so that's what we mean. So our main goal is to just be able to resurrect Black and Hispanic people from being beaten down into powder. When you look in the Black and Hispanic communities, we are destroyed. And so as we go in to correct the mistakes, we still have to battle or speak about the drugs that are allowed to flow into the community. And then the people in the community that accept those drugs. So the more we can get to stop doing that. So we have to speak out against y'all. Or America. I'll say America, so it's not a y'all.
Why do you lump in Hispanics?
Because biblically speaking, Hispanics are part of the 12 tribes of Israel.
Really? Mm-hmm. How?
So Jacob had 12 sons. Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Simeon, Naphtali, Gad, Issachar, Manasseh. I probably missed somebody. Ephraim. So if I missed a tribe, I apologize. And so prophetically, the northern kingdom came over here first, to America's first. You can see that in 2nd Ezra's 14th chapter. They did a movie when Columbus they did a movie on Columbus, and they was like, they used the book of 2nd Ezra to know that there was a land over here already. And so you can find in history like good books called Lost Tribes and Promised Land is an excellent book where, and this is written before we existed, where they started observing the Seminole Indians, the Taino Indians, the Mexican Indians, and they seeing them speak Hebrew, seeing them give the Hebrew credo. They knew that they was from the tribe of Reuben and the tribe of Joseph. This is all information that anybody can look up and can find. So for us, that's when they say like we're a hate group, when they use the term hate group, and they make us like a Black supremacist group. But then when you come around us, you'll see we got Puerto Ricans with us, we got Mexicans with us, we got Haitians, we got all these different tribes. So are we really a hate group?
So you're a Black, Puerto Rican, Haitian hate group.
And Dominican.
And Dominican.
And Seminole Indian. I got to run them all. North Central and South American and Black hate group.
All right, what about Alessi? He's what? He's Norwegian, Cuban, Chinese.
What's his daddy? What's your dad?
Norwegian.
Where's Norwegian at? That's in Europe, right?
Yeah, that's in Europe.
Oh, yeah, he's white.
But he's white.
Yeah. Well, my mom's Cuban.
So
She's Cuban Chinese.
Right. So so your mom is Cuban, but you go by the seed of your father. So it's not the seed. Like Bob Marley, That's a white guy to us.
No, he's one of my favorite black guys.
He's not black, though.
He's very black. Come on.
Pull up Bob Marley's father.
I want to love you and treat you right.
Pull up, Google Bob Marley's father.
I know his dad was white, but
Now, pull up. Do you see that picture right there?
Yeah, it's a white guy.
Look, that one. Put the one. No, the one where it got both of them. That one right there. Now, when you look at that picture, Bob Marley looks just like his white father in blackface.
No, but he's got dreads and stuff.
No,
in blackface, see?
Yeah, in blackface.
So he's black.
Look, shut up, man. Look at you see the nose, you see the mouth. The only thing Bob got is skin tone and hair texture. But he looks just like his father. So for us, we don't deal with complexion. So if your father is white, then you're white. If your father is Haitian, then you're Haitian. If your father's black, then you're black.
So I could be
like Mariah Carey's black.
Yeah.
Because she got a black father.
Because her mom's white.
But her mom is white, her father's black.
So you do claim
looks
her.
Like, yeah, we claim Mariah Carey.
All right, you claim her.
Yeah.
But like you could have the whitest, palest looking Puerto Rican out there and then like Bob Marley and you'd be like, get away.
Yes.
Do you not see how that's like a little bit of cognitive dissonance?
No, because what we're erasing actually is erasing. What did I say?
I'm just repeating what you said.
Yeah, we're erasing. We're erasing the colorism that America created. America created a colorism of light skin, dark skin, to where when like they would call the light skinned black person, they say, "Oh yeah, you was the house." They would call the dark skinned person to say, "You was the field." And so now that colorism makes it seem like if you're light skinned, then that means you had to have somebody white in your line. When that don't even make sense, because you can go into Africa and to Aboriginal. Like there's a people in the Aborigines that have blonde hair and blue eyes, brown skin, and have never been interacted with white people. Because black people have the gift of making many different shades of brown. So you could be extremely light brown or extremely dark brown. It has nothing to do with mixing with white people. It doesn't? No? So we don't suffer from colorism. We don't look at a black person and then make them black or white based on their skin tone. So like if a person comes up to us and they want to learn, the first thing we say is, what's your ethnicity? If they say African, they can't come in there either. If they say Arab, Kamala Harris, they was parading her like she black. That is not a black woman. That's technically it's a white woman, but at best,
how's she white? She's Indian
her
black.
great grandfather is white, I believe. Yeah, on her father's side.
I'm about to give you a DNA test. We're gonna find some shit out. We're gonna find some shit out.
But DNA, so even DNA tests, right? That's a joke in the sense that.
How's it a joke?
Because it was never, live DNA you can test with accuracy. So if you have a kid, that's live DNA. Or like, let's say if someone unalives somebody and they take a swab, you can test that because it's live DNA. So once you going back like 7, 8, 9 generations, it's really just a guess because you don't have no live DNA to test it with. You're just guessing that based on this live DNA, it goes back to here, to here, to here. That's why if you go to 23andMe, African ancestry, and let's say another DNA test, when you get them back, you're going to get 3 different answers. I remember watching this show. There was these triplet white girls, had the same mother and father. And when they went and got their DNA test for their ancestry, it came back with different information for all 3 of them, even though they're triplets with the same mother and father.
Is there a video of their birth?
I
want to see the gardener, bro.
I don't know.
When I hear that, I want to see the gardener. Get more Povich in here.
Boy, Mari made a killing off of that stuff there, man. So
yeah, he did.
Yes, he did.
He did.
Yeah, so
but
we don't
I
suffer
see what you're saying.
colorism.
So I don't know. I can't speak in an educated manner on how they conduct those tests or whatever, because frankly, I've never really looked into it. But I guess like what I'm getting at is Mariah Carey, black, Bob Marley voted off the island, but it's just because.
What's that guy? Lenny Kravitz, he's white.
He's white too?
He got a white father.
Okay, but like what if Lenny
Alicia
Kravitz.
Keys, black.
What if Lenny Kravitz has a kid with a black chick?
Like Lauryn Hill's kids, them is white kids with Zohan. Those are white kids.
Zohan.
Bob Marley's son, Bob Marley's son, is his name Zohan? Ziggy, okay,
yeah,
Ziggy.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, those kids, them white kids.
Was his white?
Ziggy is white because his father's white. Ziggy Marley, Bob Marley's son.
But was Bob Marley's wife or the woman?
She was black.
She was black. So what I'm saying is his son is 75% black, and he's less black than Mariah Carey to you?
I remember, I think it's North Carolina University say, Duke. So we go by the Bible, which says you are the seed of your father. But even science will tell you it's the sperm. Like, you know, a woman can't even have a child without a man. So whatever that sperm is, it's planting. Like black people have a term where we call a woman the earth. And so you planting your seed into the earth. The earth receives seed. So if you take an apple seed and plant it around a bunch of oranges, it's still going to be an apple. Same thing in reverse.
Even if it happens over and over and over again, because I feel like all it takes is one domino in the lineage to fuck the whole thing up forever for somebody. So if we look at a lot of guys all the way back.
From your look, yeah. So like you'll have, so like Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin has a very dark-skinned Haitian father. He has a white mother.
Yeah.
And then Blake Griffin went and had children with a white woman too. So when you see Blake Griffin's son, you'll see him on the outside looking, if you saw Blake Griffin's son, you would say that's a white kid.
But it's not to you.
No, it wouldn't be to us.
He's black.
Yeah.
So that kid is blacker than Ziggy Marley.
Mm-hmm.
The math ain't mathing on this for me.
Because probably what you're looking at when you say is blacker than Ziggy Marley, you're probably going to look at how they conduct themselves. Like Bob Marley did not take on his father's way of life. He took on his mother's way of life.
I'm not looking at that at all. I'm literally
just looking at it
just talking percentage of ethnicity right now. I'm not talking about how they act or what it is.
Yeah, that's why we're not supposed to mix. You know, the Bible says we're not supposed to interracially.
Where does it say that?
In Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, it says.
Pull this up. Deuteronomy 7th chapter.
Yeah.
Don't want to mix. All right, so there's a question though.
Yeah.
Are you a Bible literalist? Meaning every word in there.
No, the Bible is metaphorically, literal, and spiritual. Spiritual.
How do you make the designation?
By context of what you're reading.
What does that mean?
Meaning, if you're reading something and it's talking about death and life, like when God told Adam, if you break this commandment, you're gonna die. Adam didn't literally die because that's not the point God was making. But Adam's life was going to be extremely hard. And then you see that. So when they disobeyed, they got kicked out of the garden. The first thing that you see happen is his two sons, one of his sons kills the other son. That's a hard life to live with. The mother has children in pain. That's another hard life lived. Those are punishments. So that's the death that it's talking about. Even Christ said, let the dead bury the dead. So now we know he's not talking about dead people burying dead people. He's talking about people that are dead spiritually. Let them bury this guy. You come and follow me. So you just have to read to get even when you see trees, people think Adam was the first man on the planet. He was not. There's a boom of people.
Who was?
Mankind as a whole was created on the 6th day. Adam is not mentioned until the 7th day in Genesis 2. Yeah.
But he might have been the first action figure that God put there, right?
He's the first man that that God put his spirit on, but he's not the first man.
Can you explain that?
So imagine all three of us, right? So all three of us, we're created, right? We're living on the earth. And then God comes and chooses you and say, I'm going to give you my instructions on how to live, what to build, what to do, what not to do. You would have life. Him and I would be alive, but we don't have the life, meaning the laws from God. That's what life is biblically. That's what Adam was received.
Right. So you're saying that at the time Adam had received the life or whatever, there were other people walking around.
Doing whatever. Yeah, that's Genesis. In Genesis, the 1st chapter, you see the timeline of creation. And on the 6th day, it says, let us create man in our image. Male and female, he created them, and then told them to subdue the earth. Two people can't subdue the earth. Even when Cain killed Abel, what did Cain say? They that see me will slay me. Who's the they? If we go by the logic of just Adam and Eve, it can only be Adam, Eve, and Cain. Because Abel is dead because Cain just killed him. Right. So when Cain says, they that see me will slay me, God acknowledges and puts a mark on Cain. So even God acknowledged the other people. And then Cain leaves from Adam and Eve's presence, goes to the land of Nod, and gets a wife. Where's he getting his wife from? And built a city.
Yeah, so it would have had to been somewhere.
It had to be other people.
Maybe,
there.
God sent down somebody, said,
or maybe he just created them maybe he just created them on the 6th day.
Might have.
Yeah, and because Adam is the seventh day.
But point being, like, so you said it's spiritual, literal, and metaphorical? Was that it?
Yeah.
But yours, and then the way you explained it was that the context is what matters. It. But you're making the judgment on what the context is, where there's quote unquote context.
I always say the Lord would make. I believe in the Bible spiritually, so I believe that understanding, because everybody has the Bible and everybody can read it. If you don't have the Spirit of God, you will not understand it. Now, biblically speaking, only Israelites can understand the Bible.
Only Israelites can understand it.
The way God intended.
How do you know this?
Psalms 147, he said, he showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments. He has not dealt so with any nation. So for us, spiritually speaking, to understand it the way God intended it, we have to be the ones to interpret it, Israelites.
Do you think you're like born therefore with some sort of like gene in your genetic code that allows you to spiritually understand it that doesn't allow me to spiritually understand it?
No, because then that would kind of be like magic. But what I would say is that when you study yourself to be approved, the Lord will give his spirit to you to understand it.
Study yourself to be approved? What do you mean?
Like the Bible says study. So you got to have, like, it ain't magic where you just come out the womb and just know these things. You have to come out, you have to read the book, you have to be into the book. You have to serve the Most High. You have to keep the commandments of God. Like, if you're not following God's commandments, how could you ever understand them? So that's the criteria that you would have to have first. Sometimes the Lord just uses you. Like he saw Moses when Moses unalived that Egyptian. He used Moses to go and free the children of Israel. So he can use you how you see fit as well.
What do you mean? What do you mean he used him to go get him? Like he decided because Moses killed an Egyptian?
He set Moses up. So he made sure
God set Moses up.
Yeah, meaning what I mean by set him up, not set him up to set him up in this way. Pharaoh was trying to unalive all the firstborn. God made sure Moses lived. Moses grew up in Pharaoh's house. And Moses, even though he grew up with a silver spoon, he saw the poor and he saw that Egyptian harming that Israelite. And then he unalived them because most people think Moses didn't know he was an Israelite. Moses always knew he was an Israelite.
Even before he found out?
Mm-hmm.
How do we know this?
Because when the baby was sent down the river,
and
Pharaoh, and Pharaoh's daughter found him. Pharaoh's daughter fetched the mother of Moses. And so Pharaoh's daughter gets Moses, Pharaoh knows this is the daughter knows this is a Hebrew baby, and fetched the mother and let the mother raise her. The baby just grew up in Pharaoh's house, but the mother raised him. So he didn't grow up in secrecy.
Yeah, but did the mother ever tell Moses, like,
how would they know the mother? Remember, the scriptures say Pharaoh's daughter fetched for the mother. So they went and got the mother and his sister, Miriam. So they raised Moses. Moses always knew he was an Israelite.
But you're a kid. You're only born into the environment.
No. Not as a baby. I ain't saying he didn't know as a baby, but as he got older, he knew he was an Israelite.
But he could have just assumed they were like the help. You know what I mean?
No, they would have told him.
They would have told him.
Yeah,
they would
just
have
like
told
any
Moses.
Mother. Yeah. That's why when he saw
under threat of death, though, because if they tell him, Pharaoh may be like, "Yo, off with your head."
The reason why Moses didn't die was because of Pharaoh's daughter. Pharaoh's daughter is the reason why they didn't unalive that baby. Otherwise, they would have unalived the baby.
Yeah.
Because that was the decree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, imagine if you a ruler and you unaliving all the black babies, and your daughter finds this black baby and compels you to save this black baby. And then you save the black baby for your daughter's sake, and then that black baby lead to revolt that kill all white people. That's what Moses did.
But he was captured later and told he was a Hebrew. That's the way I was understanding.
No, that's movies. That's not in the Bible.
It's not in the Bible.
In the Bible.
Unless he's a big Bible guy. Is this driving with what you know of the Bible?
It's interesting. It's a different interpretation, but I can tell from the way you're talking about. You've obviously studied specific texts, right? Mm-hmm. I can tell you know them right away. And I think what you said there in the beginning is very appropriate, where there's a lot of context when you read these.
Right.
And I think the context is where we could go awry. And I think that's where there can be some confusion. Because he's right. There's literary styles in the Bible. You know, the New Testament, a lot of it is Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. It's like Jesus was here. Jesus did this. This is what happened. It's very much chronological. But then you have some verses, like he says, where it's like, and then he became the tree or whatever it may be. And it's like, all right, what is the context? What is the literary style? No, that is using a metaphor. So I see what he's saying. However, I will say I think there could be misinterpretation depending on the context.
Okay. I'm going to read this if I could, so we're clear up the Moses thing. This is Exodus 2, and I'm going to start at 7. And it says, then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, verse 6. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept, and she had compassion on him and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children. This is Pharaoh's daughter. Then it says, then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, for I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses. And she said, because I drew him out of the water. And it came to pass in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren and looked upon his burdens. The brethren are Israelites. So Moses always knew.
No, but hold on. Let's look at it. My interpretation there could be like he's a member of the royal family in this way, like the Pharaoh's family, and so he came upon his brethren, and they're saying that as a hindsight 2020 statement, where it's like obviously they were his brethren, but he may not have known that. He may have been out there, cracking the whip like everyone else. Guys, if you're still watching this video and you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please take 2 seconds and go hit it right now. Thank you.
No, because it says, and further on it says, and looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. So he killed the Egyptian.
So he's protecting somebody that he felt was being oppressed.
He's protecting his brother, the Hebrews.
But does he know that's his brother, or is he just a really nice guy?
No, he knows that that's his brethren, because that's what we're reading here.
Well, we know in the context of the person who's writing it, they know.
This is Moses' scribe writing it.
I know that, but I'm saying it's after the fact, right? So they know that, like, there's a thing, what the fuck was that term? Dramatic irony, like where the audience knows something that the people in the movie don't, right? So in this case, the audience knows, the writer knows that Moses is actually a Hebrew. So he's calling the Hebrew his brethren, but he's not necessarily saying that at this moment, 20-year-old Moses or whatever knew that the guy he just offended was literally his brethren. He may have looked at it and said, I don't like that Egyptian beating up on him, so fuck you, I'm going to beat him up, without knowing that he's literally protecting his own kind.
So now, Moses is the founder of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. So his scribes is writing down his records of him. So he would know above anything. So what we first see is that the daughter of Pharaoh went and got the mother of Moses, had the mother of Moses raise him up, had the mother of Moses stay with him. And so now, if the mother is raising him up, he's growing up knowing he's an Israelite. It wasn't hidden. Pharaoh is directly calling him a Hebrew, fetching the mother. So this wasn't like hidden to where she hid it. She did it openly.
But then the Pharaoh, we don't know that the Pharaoh was calling him a Hebrew when he was 10 years old and could hear what he said and understood that.
Yeah, because he's the one, if he grew up unbeknownst to himself, he would never have looked upon the Hebrews and looked at it as compassion, because he would have grew up just like an Egyptian.
But that's not
in Pharaoh's house.
That's not necessarily true, because there's people, without giving a specific example at the moment, I'm sure I could find some, where there's people who feel something from a human perspective that they don't feel it just because it has to be someone being oppressed that looks like them or is a part of their tribe or whatever. They feel it because they're like, they look at something and they see a human being being abused, and they're like, I don't like something biologically in them, evolutionarily, is like, fuck that, and they defend them. And we have seen that throughout history where people do take that on. What was the guy's name? John Brown or something? John, the famous guy during like the build up to the Civil War. You know who I'm talking about, Alessi? The white guy who had like the whole artillery. Yeah, and he got put to death for like defending all the black people. I mean, he wasn't black. Yeah. But he was like, I don't like this oppression that's happening to them.
So like in Hebrews 11, and this is in the New Testament, it says, by faith, by faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter because he knew that his mother was a Hebrew. He's just being called Pharaoh's daughter because he was brought in that house. And it says, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God, God, than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. So we can see Moses always knew who he was. It's not like if it was a point where he was hiding who he was, we would just read it and I would just agree. But the movies make it's more dramatic from a movie perspective or a script perspective. Moses didn't know, and now he's waking up, and now he's going to do this. As more simplified, he just grew up and chose not to be rich, chose not to enjoy the splendors because he's seeing the plight of his people, and then chose that route.
So did Moses look like you? Is that what we're getting at?
Yeah.
And we can prove that.
Yeah, Moses was, all the Israelites were black people or melanated people of color, if you want to use that term.
So who are the current Jews living in Israel?
So it'd be funny because sometimes they call themselves Ashkenazi.
Yeah.
And what's weird about them calling themselves Ashkenazi is if you go into the Bible, Ashkenaz come from Japheth. They don't come from Shem. So I don't know why they would call themselves Ashkenazi Jews.
Well, there's two types. There's Ashkenazi and there's Sephardic. Sephardic are more to the east and Middle East type origin. Ashkenazi is more European after the diaspora spread out.
So now, biblically, they would be Amalek. They're not Jews at all. Biblically speaking, they're Amalek.
They're not Jews.
No, they're not. They're not Jews at all. It's impossible.
How is it impossible?
Well, they converted in like 600 AD. When the Byzantine Empire and the Muslim Empire was going to war, you had these Russians over there, Germans over there, and I forget the name of the tribe. I'm mad I got a brain fart. But they converted to Judaism because they didn't want to submit to the Christians of the Byzantine Empire or the Muslims of their empire. So they just started saying they were Jews, but they have no biblical connection to Israel whatsoever.
How do we prove that?
Prove what? That they're
not?
Well,
you just said that they all did.
Well, it's history that they converted. You can find that in history. Chosen people of the Caucasus, 13 tribe, written by Arthur Koestler. You can look this up in history. Them Europeans converted. You know that guy? What's that white lady? Helen Thomas. Helen Thomas got fired. Yeah, Helen Thomas got fired from the White House for making. She said they was asked. She was being interviewed. And they asked her, what does she think about the conflict? And she said they really should go home. And the news reporter was like, what do you mean? She said, well, they from Russia, Poland. They not, from this land.
When was this?
They fired. Look up Helen Thomas gets fired.
Helen Thomas, White House, fired.
Yeah, there you go. She was in the White House for a long time, too.
Let's see what we can get here.
It should be on you. Probably on YouTube. Or if you look up the article, you might see.
Okay, let's do the first one, ABC. So it says, White House columnist Helen Thomas resigns after telling Jews, quote, to go home. June 7, 2010. Helen Thomas, a veteran columnist for Hearst newspapers, announced her resignation today, shortly after the White House condemned her remarks about Jews as offensive and reprehensible. Thomas caused an uproar with her recent remarks that Jews should get the hell out of Palestine and go home to Poland, Germany, America, and everywhere else. I think she should and has apologized, White House Press Secretary Robert Gibbs said at a daily briefing today. Obviously, those remarks do not reflect certainly the opinion of, I assume, most of the people in here, and certainly not the administration. Since Thomas made the comments in a May 27 interview with RabbiLive.com, what a place to make the fucking comments. Former U.S. officials and listen, she got a set of balls on her. Former U.S. officials and fellow columnists had called for her suspension from the White House press briefings, where she has her own front row center seat. Thomas, 89, is given special privileges due to her longstanding service as a journalist. She has covered every president since John F. Kennedy. All right, so she was kicked out from covering this because she doesn't think they're from Israel. But that's just like some old lady just
that's why I was giving, you can look up Chosen People of the Caucasus. You can look up 13 Tribe. And the most important part is to go from the Bible or the Torah, because they follow the Torah. So if you go by the Torah, there's things that are said about the children of Israel that the Jewish people don't match. Like Deuteronomy 28:68 is one of the scriptures we use where it talks about the transatlantic slave trade, when it says, ye shall be brought into Egypt again with ships. The word Egypt just means bondage. And the only people that have been brought into captivity on ships in that fashion are black people and Hispanic people, because the transatlantic slave trade started from North America to Spain first, and then from Africa to America. So they just don't fit the prophecies in the Bible at all. The description of the Israelites, they don't fit. There's no black Jewish people. It doesn't fit. When Solomon said, "I am black," that's not them. Even David being called ruddy is just a light-skinned black person.
But over time, don't looks change based on...
Eskimos still got their melanin. They up in the coldest of the cold weather.
I know, but there's like 10 of them.
It's
not that many.
They still black, though.
No, I know, but like when you look at large groups of people, the looks will change across them. You'll see an Italian guy.
Your skin ain't gonna change, though.
Your skin does change. You look at an Italian guy who has more northern roots, per se, simply, versus an Italian guy that has more southern roots. One looks like, he's almost black. The other one looks like, he's white as Switzerland.
The Italian guy or Sicilian does not look like they're almost black. They just happen to be
I'm exaggerating.
I know.
Yeah.
They're just slightly darker than a normal white person, so it's impressive to y'all.
It's impressive to us?
Yeah.
I wasn't saying that was impressive.
Y'all wish, well, not you, but that's why white people have all those damn tanning salons. Like the gym I go to, Signature Fitness in Jersey.
Is that owned by a white guy?
Yes. It's one of the best. Listen, Signature Fitness is arguably...
So he's good. You're not going to enslave him. You like him.
No, I am going to enslave him to make sure that he incorporates this fire-ass gym that he has in Belleville.
Oh, my God.
Tommy should have told you I'm just as crazy as y'all. As crazy as y'all.
Listen.
But that's why they got all them tanning booths, because y'all trying to get the color.
Yeah, but like that's more just like to get an extra shade.
That you can't get naturally.
Right. And then
no matter how long it's been.
I'll play it the other way. You'll see like black people who want their skin lightened a little bit to almost get to the same middle ground.
Exactly. That's what I was telling you. Our looking up to whiteness. And that's what plagues us. Our black women want that damn blonde hair, which is damn near a disease. And then they want the light skin, so they bleaching their skins because we want to mimic that, because we think white. They had a doll test that they did to black kids where they would take a black doll and a white doll. They would look at that white doll and say that white doll, they would ask them which one is good. They all point to the white one. Which one is bad? They all point to the black one. So we're taught from kids that white is better.
How old were those kids? Do you know?
They were probably like kindergarten, maybe. That might be too young. Maybe 7. Maybe around 7, 8.
Can they even know at that point? Are you even capable of being brainwashed yet?
You know what's funny? I recently came across this video of they called it the cherry blossom test.
Cherry blossom test.
With these mice, right? So they took these mice and they had this like blossom. So say this is the tree right here. And they put a metal plate under it. And so every time they went to go to that tree, zap them. It didn't, not enough to kill them, but enough to make them run away from the tree.
Yeah.
Right?
Turn that mic towards you, by the way.
Okay. Yeah. And so what they did next was they removed the metal plate. So now there's no metal plate there.
Right.
So if the mice wanted to, he can go to the tree.
But it still thinks
But because of the smell of the tree, never went to it. Here's the crazy part. They took female mice that had no access or knowledge of this tree, mated them with the male mice. When those kids from them mice came, they still didn't go by that tree because of the smell was passed down to that generation. And scientifically, it took 7 generations of bringing mice that had no access to that for them to actually go to that tree without fear. So when we say, can things be passed down, think of now make this in a general statement. When a woman is pregnant, what affects her affects the child. So if she's being, whatever is transferred or she's being oppressed with is passed down to the child.
Like if she drinks or smokes.
Right.
Yeah.
So it also is trauma, it has that same effect. Whatever trauma is affected from that test, it was from the male, but whatever trauma is affected, passed down. They did tests like that, even slavery. They said slavery is in our DNA. that those things passed down from generation to generation, and they didn't discover it from slavery because they didn't care enough about us. They discovered it from tests from like the Holocaust. You know, the Holocaust was a horrific event where Germans was doing whatever they did to Jewish people, and that's when they discovered that the Holocaust trauma can be passed down hereditarily to others. So when you say, can a kid have that in them? Yes, they can, because trauma gets passed down. Just like if a person is alcoholic, that can be passed down to where if that kid drinks alcohol, he don't even know why he can't shake the alcohol, not knowing that his father was an alcoholic and that's why. So it's something that ties into that. So there's a lot of things that happens to us. That it ain't got to just be slavery. That's why I'm trying to use different examples.
Right.
It's a lot of things that diabetes can be passed down. There's a lot of things that can pass down to our children.
So you're saying a form of trauma in this case could have passed down to these kids to make them wired to think that the white doll was
and not even know why. It's not even the white doll itself. It's just what they see when they see white, as opposed to what they see when they see black. Like white, y'all have the same thing. When y'all see black people, y'all have the same collective. Now, when I'm just for the Julian's audience, I don't mean every single white person. So it's all general. You might have the one good white guy.
There's one of us?
Out of the billion. Listen, Tommy, I like Tommy. Like, for example.
Tommy's safe.
Yeah, Tommy is safe. Now, I don't know how safe, though. I ain't letting Tommy all the way in, Tommy. I ain't letting you all the way in.
Bro, when he dropped down and did push-ups.
Listen, this is the craziest shit ever.
He's like, yeah, master. I have to keep doing this, master. Oh, my God. I was pissed.
That was the craziest thing, because I didn't expect him to do it, and he got down there and he doing the push. I said that is good. Keep going, Tommy. Keep going. So, but yeah, so you know, when y'all do it's something that like racism, especially in America, racism drives America.
It drives it.
This presidential today that presidential race is the proof. Like when they say that we're racist, it's real weird to me because I don't really look at us as racist. The
black Israelites.
Yeah. And for the record, right, and you can keep saying it, and this just for your listening audience, we don't usually say black Israelites because then that means they could be a white Israelite, and ain't no such thing as a white Israelite.
Oh, shit. We got you cornered now.
Yeah, good. What?
We got you cornered because you are called the black Israelites. So you're saying there's a chance.
No, I'm saying there's not a chance. I'm saying we don't say that. Y'all say that, of course. So we hear that from like the media outlets. They'll say black Hebrew Israelites or black Israelites, but we don't say that. So now, when I say racism drives America, this presidential race was fueled by racism. Kamala Harris was not black until she ran for presidency. She was Asian. This is the first Asian. This is the first East Indian.
You're like they're cherry picking it,
right? They used, and this is what I meant when I was telling you earlier. You said who uses us, who comes in the community. America does. America galvanized black people into thinking that they should vote for this woman, not because she had a plan to help black people, but because she was black. She went on BET and said, they not like us. Why? Because Kendrick Lamar just had a song called They Not Like Us. And because she said they not like us, everybody said, wow, she's black. She said she put collard greens in a tub. I don't know no women that put collard greens in a tub to this day.
She was a little cringe.
Yeah, and then she did the worst thing that she could have done, which I think really affected the white vote more than the black vote. Now, every time she had entertainers perform, she got rappers performing. So she could now be more black. What black thing has she done since she lost the election?
What black thing has she done?
Yeah, what black thing?
I mean, if I even try to answer that question, I'm going to get in trouble.
No, you're not. Good. Listen, this is me asking. I want to know. What black thing has she done since she lost?
I have no idea.
Because she hasn't. The only picture we seen was her sipping wine with her children, but she ain't.
I see what you're saying. Trick question.
Right. She ain't doing no more black shit. She not doing anything else black now than she lost.
She dropped the accent too.
Man, she had many accents.
Yeah,
she
had
picked
like
up
15.
a Jamaican accent, Detroit accent. She did all of that.
Hey, she was trying. Come on.
And that's my point when I say racism drives America. It drives a wedge to where if we really the villains, if they wanted to make us a villain, meaning the Israelites, if you wanted to make the Israelites a villain, then there shouldn't be no other racism that exists. There shouldn't be no taking advantage of race, especially from a government level.
But you want to enslave white people.
No, I don't want to enslave white people. God want to enslave white people. There's a difference. Don't get mad at me. You got to get mad at God.
Yeah, but all right. So God, in your context right here.
Well, in the Bible, let's say if you take black or white, out of it, there is a people or nations that are gonna be enslaved for touching God's people. Let's say if I'm not an Israelite.
Yeah.
When you read Isaiah the 60th chapter, it says, "The nation that would not serve thee shall perish." So there is nations that are gonna serve God's people. Now for us, we the Israelites, of course, so we saying that's all of y'all because y'all touch black people. So God is enslaving
But
you.
I didn't touch black people like that.
Right.
Some fucking guy in 1845 did, who has no relation to me.
You know, just like we suffer for the sins of our father, y'all got to suffer for the sins of your father.
Or our like great grandfathers.
What do they call themselves? The founding fathers.
Yeah, that was
so y'all got to pay for
Freemason.
And what were we? When they said all men are created equal, was that us? No.
No, you were 3/5 at the time.
We wasn't even 3/5 yet.
Yeah.
We wasn't 3/5 yet. Because that's the independent. In the independence in the Constitution, it was all men are created equal. I think the 3/5 compromise came with the treaty when Abraham Lincoln set up, if I'm not mistaken.
We look that up.
Yeah, let's look up when the 3/5.
I think it might split the difference. I think it might be not the Constitution. You're right, but it might not be that late.
Yeah, maybe it's not that late.
Maybe it was though. I don't know. I haven't looked.
1781.
1787.
1787.
The 3/5 compromise was reached among state delegates during the 1787 Constitutional Convention, and that was in New York.
Right, so it came later. Yeah. So when that statement, all men are created equal, even if you add, let's say if I just throw that in there, we still 3/5, so we not equal.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, if y'all can establish that in unrighteousness, for sure, God can put these nations in chains for righteousness.
All right. So God, you think, but this is where it gets confusing for me. You're saying it feels like a cop-out when you're saying, well, God says that, so take it up with him, not me. But you're saying that here on earth, and I agree with you, racism runs too many things, at least, and is wrong. But then you're like, but God's telling me the people that don't look like me and aren't a member of my tribe in the future, I'm going to have to enslave them.
But that's because of what y'all did to us.
But when you say, like, y'all, like, all white people.
Now I said, I'm not. Every single white person did not enslave, but every single white person benefits from enslaving us, from us being enslaved.
All right, but how far do you want to play this game back in history? Because while I completely agree that slavery is like the worst thing that ever happened in this country, and it's something that there are downstream effects that continue. I understand that. There have been all different types of races across human history that have been enslaved of all different types of looks.
Right.
You've just been the latest, soup du jour.
Right. We don't have a monopoly on slavery.
Right.
But when Chinese people were enslaved, they still know they're Chinese. When Irish people were enslaved, they still know they're Irish. Blacks and Hispanics got enslaved. We don't speak our native language that we speak anymore. We don't know what our tribes were prior to. We don't know our history. We don't even know where we come from. Our whole culture and identity was taken from us, and we're still, like, just think about this. Every stitch of land in North America does not belong to the people that enslaved them. And here's how it'll take God to intervene, because the only way to actually rectify it would be impossible. Because the only way that y'all could fix it, y'all would have to go back where y'all came from. You know how they say, well, if you don't like it, go back to Africa? No.
I don't say that.
No. I keep saying it's general. I'm not talking about you.
All right.
Listen, sure. Julian has not said anything. He's safe. Julian is safe.
All right, good. I'm safe. Mark's safe.
Mark's safe.
Put like the
letter
on me and be like, yeah. I'm not one of them. I'm not going to be enslaved.
He's good. He's not one of them. So
I'll dance for you.
So the only way to rectify it is to give the land back. But you ain't never going to do that. So it'll always be suffrage for Native Indians on reservations, for the Mexicans in the worst part of Mexico that they could be in, the people in North and Central and South America. It'll always be that way because the people that conquered it have no intention on leaving.
You know what though? I this was a part of history that in the spring I looked into more. I got food poisoning in the spring, so there's this show.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, fucking sucked, man. So I was just
I had it happen one time.
Dude, brutal. So I couldn't do anything. Like I literally had to like lay down. There was a mini series on Apple called Manhunt, and it was based on true events. A lot of it was true. Some of it Hollywood fucked with in the days after Abraham Lincoln was killed. And about like the quote unquote conspiracy there. And one of the things that I then kind of went down the rabbit hole on after that is the fact that Abraham Lincoln's killed on April 14th, 1865. He had this whole plan of like 40 acres and a mule or whatever to give land to all the free slaves, to all the freed slaves. He had this whole reconstruction plan. And then when he's killed, Andrew Johnson, who probably wouldn't have even wanted to change slavery, comes in and says, no, fuck that. They had literally even apparently given some land out for a few days to some former slaves and then took it back from them and now did not give them the reparations, which, and this is where there's a fair argument, set up a cycle generationally of people who now had to go had to basically kill their own food when there's other people in society who get to live off the continued passing down generational wealth of land.
Right.
I think there's a point to be had there for sure.
No, and so that's what I'm saying. So because none of that has happened, when we talk about white people paying for the judgment, the reason why we say God, remember I said that for me, it's spiritual when I follow the Bible. So if the Bible said that I had to forgive y'all for everything, as much as I would hate it, if I believe in God, I would have to do that.
It doesn't say you got to do that?
No.
What about the whole, like, turn the other cheek shit?
That's Christ talking to Israelites, what other Israelites have to do.
No, he's talking to you. You're an Israelite.
Yeah, what I'm saying, and that's what we do. We go out to Israelites in black and brown neighborhoods, and we teach them to stop being violent against each other. So that's what that is. That's not talking about another nation doing something to us. Christ never talked to other nations.
He never talked to other nations.
Except that one white woman, he called her dog a female dog. You know what a female dog is,
a bitch. Right?
Yes. Oh, you can say that. Yeah, so he called the white woman a bitch.
Jesus called a white woman a bitch.
Yeah, he said it's not good. He said it's not good to take the children's bread and cast it to the dogs.
Oh, Jesus.
That's what he said.
He called a baddie a bitch.
Yeah. Jesus was a gangster. You know, he beat. You know, he beat. He wasn't ready for that one. Remember, in John the second chapter, he made a scourge of cords and beat them out the temple.
He did?
Yeah.
I'm unaware.
Yeah, listen, so when...
Are you aware of this, Lassie?
He did.
He beat him with a scourge of cords.
You're talking about when he came into like the Gentiles, right? And then he sees them.
Not the Gentiles. He came into the temple and he saw the money changers exchanging money in the Lord's house. And remember, he made the scourge of cords and beat him out and said, "My father's house
cords
not supposed to be a den of thieves." Yeah, like a
yes.
whip. He made whips.
Oh shit.
Yeah, beat the shit. And this the carpenter's son. You know that wrist game was strong as hell.
Wrist game was good, bro. Well, let's see how you taking this. Is it affecting your worldview?
I think it's an interesting perspective. Like I said, I think the perspective he's taking, it comes down to context. And I think you can weave any story, like any religion facet off of Christianity by taking verses and aligning them. I think that's
I agree with you on
many
that.
faiths do that are like off of Christianity. However, when you take the Bible for what it is and you take it all, and not just taking a Hebrews text to an Isaiah to then a John and Mark, but read all as one.
Right.
You know, I don't think he's saying, "Oh, I only spoke to one nation." He's talking to all people.
But did he whip a motherfucker?
I have to look at that closely.
Yeah, that's John the second chapter.
Okay.
That's John the
2. Second chapter. Let's go. Jesus going ham. John the second chapter. Let's see what we
It
got.
said Jesus go
Yeah.
ham. Let me make
Yeah.
sure I got the right verse. Hold up. Let me see. Let me get it here.
Unless he's trying on
John 2.
on
Yeah,
his
John
Bible
2. You can start at John chapter 2, 13. He makes the chords in 15.
Jesus 2:13-22.
Yeah.
When it was almost time for the Jewish Passover, Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In the temple courts, he found people selling cattle, sheep, and doves, and others sitting at tables exchanging money. So he made a whip out of, oh my God.
Told you he was gangster.
He made a whip out of cords and said, "Not in my house, motherfuckers." Anyway, and drove all from the temple courts, both sheep and cattle. He scattered the coins of the money changers and overturned the oh, he was flipping tables on them.
Yeah.
To those who sold
Yeah.
doves, he said, Get these out of here. Stop turning my father's house into a market. I feel like he said, like, get this shit up out of here, yo. not up in this bitch. Not right here.
He was a gangster,
This the Jesus zone, my G. Anyway, his disciples remembered that it is written, "Zeal for your house will consume me." Wow, Jesus was a gangster. Now, here's something I ask everyone from the strict Christian realm as well. So I'm going to ask you because it's, you're coming at it from a different angle. But when you look at the Bible, there are many, many translations across many languages.
Right.
And this was written in old-ass language.
Right.
And even when you look at just the English translation, you'll find, I don't know the number, but like 40 of them. And as you know, if I take a sentence, without giving specifics here, and have one word here instead of here, it could change the whole context and meaning of the sentence.
Right.
There was actually a huge linguistic argument happened on my buddy Danny Jones' podcast with an ancient language expert, where there is one translation specifically from the Gospel of Mark. I don't remember what chapter. This guy Amon Hillman was talking about how it would then mean like Jesus was into some awful shit. I'll just leave it there, right? But if you read the translation of that same sentence across these other 20 English translations, it doesn't mean much, and it means something entirely different.
Right.
So when you see a translation like this, might it be more, if perhaps is some of it changed in this translation we're seeing?
Yeah, so like, say how you read like the NIV. I don't read the NIV. The only
What's
version,
the NIV?
The New International Version. I mainly do the King James Version.
All right, let's read that. Now
Which says the same thing.
Now the Passover of the Jews was at hand, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem, and he found in the temple those who sold oxen and sheep and doves, and the money changers doing business. When he had made a whip of cords, he drove them all out of the temple with the sheep and the oxen, and poured out the chargers' money and overturned the tables. And he said to those who sold doves, "Take these things away. Do not make my father's house a house of merchandise." All right, so it's very similar.
Yeah, it's very similar. Okay. So to resolve that issue, because you have many different translations, and here's the most important part. You have a word-for-word translation and a thought-for-thought translation.
Thought for thought?
Yeah, so some Bible translations are what you call thought-for-thought, meaning this is what we think they meant when they wrote it. And then you have a word-for-word where they'll take this word, and let's say if it's house in Greek or Hebrew, they make sure it's house in English.
How do we know which ones they went thought for thought and which ones they went word for word?
You could do a list. Like NIV is, I believe NIV might be word for word. So you could do a list of what's word for word and what's thought for thought. But now let's say if you're caught up at all.
Steve Jobs would not like how they did the Bible, bro. He believed in one button, one click, you know?
Yeah, Steve Jobs probably don't like what they did with the iPhone then, because he believed in one button, one click.
Yeah, no, they fucked up the iPhone. You're right, 100%. Yeah. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so what I would always suggest everybody do is just go to the Hebrew or Greek that it was written in and see what that is. That's how you resolve if you're stuck at a point where you don't know if this translation is right or if that translation is right. Just go to the original language and then look what that word means in the original language. That's how you resolve that.
So let's look at this from the perspective of you who views yourself as the true Israelite.
Right.
And you keep on obviously talking and mentioning like Hebrew in this language because it's an ancient language that existed. Hebrew was brought back. This is actually like
it died.
It died.
Right.
This is actually like an amazing recent history kind of thing that this was pulled off. But like in the early 1900s, I want to say, I guess like Jewish Zionists looking to go to the Holy Land decided to start bringing back Hebrew to speak among themselves, and they had to it had limited words, like a limited number of words, so they even had to add words to it or whatever.
Yeah, they got a lot of Russian and German words too in there.
But it had it had been dead for a while. But you view Hebrew as your native language, like the one that your people were speaking. I don't want to say how many.
Yeah,
years,
we would say ancient Hebrew. So like the Hebrew that we would say was our original language wouldn't be what modern Hebrew is. Modern Hebrew has E's, U's, the V. I think it's the E, the U, the V, the O wouldn't be in ancient Hebrew because old languages didn't really have a lot of vowels. So ancient Hebrew didn't really have vowels. It was mainly just sound. And so it would be like Abba Gada Ha, it would be like that. So like Yahweh Shai would be Christ's name, Yahweh would be the Lord's name.
But that has vowels in it.
The A is just for you to make the sound. The A is just for you to make the sound.
Oh, it's not written.
Right. That like the tetragrammaton, the YHWH, we pronounce that Yahweh. So you could write it based on just sound. Even because like spelling, when you think about words, you take knife. It's not spelled the way you would say it.
Knife, yeah.
Right. School. The letter C is interchangeable. So language doesn't necessarily have rules, but when you write it down, you're writing it down. When I say don't have rules, not that it doesn't have definitions, consonants, vowels, and stuff like that. But when I'm talking about when you're speaking, maybe that's a better way to say it. When you're speaking it, it doesn't have the same limits as when you're writing it. Right. So when it comes to Hebrew, you don't have to put all those vowels in there to make the words. So you're right when you say Hebrew is dead. I think before the Jewish man decided to do what he did, the Rosetta Stone was also an earmark because that's when they had the stone tablet. I think they had Hebrew, Greek, and Egyptian writing because they was even able to bring back some Egyptian writing because Egyptian writing was another language that died.
Like hieroglyphics?
Mm-hmm. They was able to translate some of the, like they call it metal netter. So even some of that wasn't all the way translated, but they was able to translate some when the Rosetta Stone was discovered. So the Hebrew language did die for a while, and it was resurrected, but I think it began being resurrected before the 1900s. Now, what Jewish people did was incorporate some of their Russian and German and Polish words into the Hebrew. That's where you might hear the term Yiddish. So you can have modern Hebrew is slightly different from Yiddish, but modern Hebrew and ancient Hebrew differ in the vowel points and stuff like that.
Do you speak ancient Hebrew?
Some. I'm not an expert.
Can you read it?
Yeah. Well, when we read it, it's just reading the Torah. So I can read the Torah. I haven't read it in a while, but I can read the Torah and I can speak some Hebrew.
So to go back to your original point where you brought this up, where you were talking about if you really want to look at it, you got to go to the original text before it's even translated, where it's in ancient Hebrew. Do you guys have like some scholars who are fluent in it?
Yeah, we teach a Hebrew class. So the brother, Officer Hazahab, headed by General Kabbalamov,
you guys got some gangster ass names.
Yeah, all those names are in ancient Hebrew. Like Tazaryach is an ancient Hebrew name.
That's a gangster ass name.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I like that I'm the only one with that name thus far.
Don't whip me.
I'm not going to whip you, man.
Thank you.
But yeah, so we have a Hebrew class that we teach so that somebody, can actually learn if they want to go into the ancient Hebrew, they can go into the ancient Hebrew.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so how does this, like, when you look up what you said society calls black Israelites, you call yourself Israelites. But like when you look that up, there's multiple different sectors of it. So there's some that are viewed as like guys who just, I guess, I'm talking about how the rest of society views it. Guys who just believe they're the original Israelite tribe, and that's that. And then there's other sectors that society decides to group as like a hate group, which I think includes yours.
That includes mine.
Right. So the other black Israelites, do you not have any association? Is it kind of like in the Christian church where you got Catholics and Baptists and
you can say a little
sectors?
bit, yeah, you can say a little bit like that. So like we always say that we're not affiliated with no group. Like ISUBK, my organization, we're not affiliated with no group. But do we know of those groups? Me personally, I interact with a lot of those groups. So we interact with them.
What do you mean interact with them?
Meaning like I've had conversations with them. I've invited them to things that we've done. Some of them I'm cordial with. Some of them I'm not cordial with. What separates us is we believe in teaching the whole truth of the Bible. They don't. So if you're not going to teach the truth of the Bible, like we're not supposed to be divided. We teach that we're not supposed to be divided. We've invited all of them to come and then let us just be united as one. They just choose to stay wherever it is that they're at.
Okay. Now, when you went and joined in 2010, is that right? It was because you had kind of started to study this and you found an interest in that.
Yeah, it was actually somebody from another group that told me about this group. I had not known about ISUBK. So when in November 29th is when I said I'm going to be an Israelite, I'm going to follow after Christ. And I was learning with these brothers from different cities and states. And I ended up asking one of the brothers, where was the truth at? Where can I go learn, like really learn? And he told me about ISUBK. That's how I got there.
Okay. And what do you like go knock on the door and say, I want to join? Or how does
No,
this
they
go
was
down?
doing a radio show. So Commander General Hanna, who's the leader, that's my leader, he was doing a radio show online. And I went to their website. They had to contact us. And so I just contacted them, and because I'm in Jersey.
I'll bet that code was made by some white nerd in Silicon Valley. I'm just saying.
Hey, man, we got to take advantage somehow. We got to take advantage somehow,
Now
man.
you're taking advantage of our work.
Listen, y'all had a 400-year head start.
That's okay. All right.
Yeah, you can't
I'll let that pass.
Yeah. So, so when I did that, I emailed them, and so they was teaching in Philadelphia. So I drove from Jersey to Philadelphia. The first street speaking I ever saw, they had a white man kissing the boots.
Oh, he's kissing the boots.
Yeah, and I was hooked ever since.
You like the kissing the boot thing?
Okay, I don't like the kissing the boot thing, but I like what it does.
What does it do?
When people see it, and just for the record, the reason why I say I don't like the kissing the boot thing because I just can't wait for the judgment of the place, so it's a little harsher. But so
see, he laughs at it.
Yeah, but the reason I like what it does is because from a psychological position, Black people are used to being the ones kissing the boots. Black people are used to the ones being in a servitude position to master. And if we can compel somebody that's just listening, because we don't force them, this is a white person that is just listening to the crimes that they committed, and as a gesture of being sorry, they do that. What that does to the Black person, not with us, but that's without, it's like, damn, these must be some super Negroes to be able to get this white man to do that. And sometimes what we'll do, we'll have them kiss hey, come on over here and get your boot kissed. And then give them some power so that the impact that it has psychologically is why I like it.
So you think, though, because like some of those videos to me, and not the Black Israelites, I don't know if I've ever seen those, but like you'll see these videos of like, I guess like more woke videos where some like old white lady will just walk up to a Black person and be like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Right.
And it's just like, what the fuck are you doing? But this is kind of the same thing. It's like saying we don't like that in the past we felt forced to do this, or not even felt, like literally we're forced to do that sometimes. So now to make us feel better, eye for an eye, we're gonna make them feel like at least they got to do that. I've never been a believer in one wrong making a right. Now, let me give an exception there. Like, I'm not a father, but I will be one day. And without going into details, I'm sure if certain things happen to my daughter, yeah.
Right.
You know,
I get exactly what you're saying.
Yes,
right.
There's laws that are not going to be followed. But when you're talking about like people who were, in this case, who were not involved
directly
in
involved,
that,
right.
And making them have to like do that, it's psychologically to me kind of dumb.
But we're not, first of all, we're not getting even at all. There's nothing that we can get even by some white man or white woman getting on their knees kissing the boot. That does not make us even at all. It's not even a drop out of a bucket. The bucket didn't even tilt over for a drop. When you think about what Black and Hispanics have been through, them getting on their knees means absolutely nothing. It's only the psychological effect that it has for other people. It don't. Again, that's what I'm saying. It don't mean nothing to me when they do it. I just know from a visual picture, the hosing, right? You know, when it was civil rights, when they used to hose us. That's the memories that Black people have. Black people have memories of getting hosed, getting dogs sicked on us, getting shot sitting in your car, Rodney King getting beat, and stuff like that.
Which was even way later.
Now, that's them making something happen. All we're doing is saying, if you're sorry, show that you're sorry. We're not making them doing anything. Like if that white guy says, as he's going to get on his knee, and he says, no, I'm not doing that. We're not saying, no, get on your knee and do it. We're not doing that. We're not walking up to him, hey, you white woman, get on your goddamn knee and do this right. We're not doing that.
Never? Not once?
Nah, not
you
once.
Don't do that?
Okay. Not once. So we're not making anybody do it. They're, for the most part, we don't even, because we're speaking in a public place, everybody hears us. But we're not even speaking to white people when we're talking. We're mainly in Black neighborhoods or a central location where Blacks and other people are. Like sometimes we speak in Times Square, which of course is a smorgasbord of races. But we're going out there to speak to our people. Now, if a white person happens to hear it, comes up, they usually come and ask us a question about what this is. And then so we bring the history. And then when they say, well, that was messed up, and then we say, well, if you're sorry, do this, it's still not making them. Now, they may feel some compel to do it based on hearing what we're saying, but we're not making them doing anything, and it don't make us even at all. There's nothing about that makes us even. We have not gotten any even leverage for what's happened to us in America.
But I understand like the passed down trauma and generational effects and stuff, and I think there's absolutely truth to that. I think that's been proven.
Right.
But do you think that there is, how do I want to say this? There is something wrong with people almost feeling compelled to suddenly feel like they were a part of something when in fact they've lived their whole life not being a part of that thing? And I'm talking about like the white people here. Like those
white people like, I remember there's this, one of my favorite videos is it's titled, we call it Independence Day. It's like when one of our generals made this white woman cry. And he made her cry, and he said to her, all your life you just been liberal, allowed to go get drunk and get high, never could realize you're benefiting on the murder of your fathers. Because most white people, especially in 2024, they're all oblivious to what we're talking about in most cases. And so I'm not saying that they know this history, but it's history nonetheless. Black people are just oblivious. We get a lot of flack from Black people. You start talking to Black people about slavery, man, they don't want to hear that. Black people don't want to hear about slavery. Black people don't want to hear about this. And sometimes they don't want to deal with it. As much as you say white people don't want to accept accountability for something that they wasn't a part of, Black people don't want to face the trauma that comes with slavery. But if you don't face your rights, how could you survive? You have to.
But that's also my issue with that parallel is that yes, while there could be some generational effects and trauma of that, you weren't there when that was happening, right? So you're 140 years, 150, 160 years past that at this point. So the people you're speaking to did not have to have that up close and experience that themselves. And so sometimes it then feels like you are reminding them to remind themselves that like, no, you're a victim. And like, listen, I don't doubt that there are issues, some systemic issues in the country. We talked about them on this podcast before that need to be fixed. I'm not discounting that. But I am saying when you take away the initial idea of like, ooh, let me use what I can of America to my advantage to get ahead. And instead of saying that, you say, no, focus on what they did to put you behind. You prevent people from trying to actually use the tools to their leverage that we've seen other Black people do, by the way, to rise up and be a power figure in society.
No, well, we actually, like I'm a business owner. So I own my own business. So I got to work.
What business do you have?
I have a body butter and body oil business.
Body butter and body oil.
Yeah, so imagine somebody like me. I sell fragrance oils, body butters, rubbing on your body, feel good. I sell hair oil, beard oil.
Wow, you got a soft
candles.
side to you. That's cool. You're not selling that Diddy oil, are you?
Hell no. No Diddy oil over here. But now, so my point was like...
You don't have to claim him, by the way. That's cool.
Yeah, I don't. You're right. I condemn him, though, because, anyway.
Good.
The only thing I'll say is that he hasn't been convicted yet.
That's fine.
So, I would like to see, and the thing about with the Diddy thing is, whatever he's charged with, I hope it's something, I don't want to say hope, but I just want it to be something where he had somebody do something against their will, as opposed to somebody saying, he told me I wouldn't get rich unless I did this. Because there's a difference. If somebody comes to you and say, I have to violate you for your record to get played,
yeah,
right?
You're good.
If I have to violate you for your record to get played, and you let him violate you so your record get played, you can't get charged for a crime. You just stupid. You shouldn't have done that. Now let's.
Oh, you don't think so?
No, not if he gave you I have to do this to you, or I'm not gonna play your record. I have to do this to you, or I'm not gonna make you famous, and you decide to be famous by letting him do that to you, then you just stupid because you willingly did it.
But what if you're young and this is a power figure, you're in a private place with him in this perspective, and he has taken advantage of you?
If you're young, then I put that on the parents. Now, if you're underage, then I do fault them for it.
No, I'm even saying if you're like 20 years old or 21 years old, people I do view it as a crime, as someone using a position of supreme power to pressure someone, like basically with a wink, like you got to do this. There's no choice here. Like they essentially kind of take away their free will.
It definitely is a pressure, extreme peer pressure, but it's also the peer pressure of being famous at the same time. So I can agree with you and still have my position. It's like a thin line. So I can't disagree with what you're saying. And because my major point is, if you was a willing participant, if you was an unwilling participant, he should be under the jail.
Okay.
If you was a willing participant, I do slightly agree with what you're saying, but I agree with my position too. If you're willing, you can't fault him for what you walked into. You let this man do this to you so you can make money. Now, if you're underage, that goes without question that he should be under the jail for that. I'm just saying it because there's a lot of stuff coming out, and I really just want to see real charges. That's all I want.
Yeah.
And I don't care about him. I think, he's a drug addict. He's taking advantage of a lot of people, so I don't care for him at all. But in being honest, if this grown man decided to let another grown man violate him so he can get famous, I ain't really got that much compassion.
I see what you're saying, and to your point, he does have to have his day in court. I
right.
agree with that.
And so, but now from what you were saying, as far as the American side, we got engineers in our organization, we got college graduates in our organization, we got businessmen, we got we got nurses, we got lawyers, we got all different types of people in our organization. We're just we're just an organization that does not get rid of the crimes that's been committed. And here's when you say like stuff that's happened a long time ago and why we don't let it go. There's always something that transpires or galvanizes us in America, like a George Floyd will happen. Eric Gardner will happen. Rodney King will happen. All these different events that reminds us of the racism that exists. That Dylan Storm that goes in the North Carolina church and unalives those people.
A lot of people.
And then what were those people trying to do? Now, this is what separates us from Christians. We would have beat the shit out of him. He might have shot one of us. One of us would have sacrificed. Everybody else would have unalived Dylan in that church.
He shot pretty fast, though. They didn't
Wouldn't matter. Let's say if he'd have shot three of us, he could have shot as many as he wanted. But there's no way nobody was not going to try to disarm him. And he reloaded the weapon. And as he's doing all of that, you know what they're doing? They praying for him. And so that's the history that we're always reminded of, which is why there ain't been a there hasn't been a form of retribution from America from a government position. You just brought up Abraham Lincoln had this plan of this 40 acres and a mule. What did they do? Unalive him and then take the land back that they gave. So there's never been an apology. Now I'm going to flip it on you. Okay. Because like you said, this is 100 some odd years from it. I'm 49, so I haven't experienced slavery. I've experienced oppression before, but not slavery. When the Jewish man, they still, in January of this year, Jewish people still got 100 and something million from the New York governor for the Holocaust. Even though,
can we look that up? I don't even know.
Yeah, that's the New York governor.
Yeah, let's look that up.
Look up New York governor.
New York governor, money, Holocaust, Jewish people.
Yep. Look that up for me.
The shit you learn in here. All right, so Governor Hochul announces Holocaust Claims Processing Office secured over $183 million for victims and beneficiaries. An ny.gov website belongs to. Wow, that's straight from
So when we talk about, like, when people always say, "Well, y'all got to let that go. When you're gonna stop doing this?" They're still doing this for them, even though the Holocaust was like let's say 10 years. Let's say 10 years that tragic event happened to the Jewish people. So from that 10-year event, they'll still lock up Germans. Let them find a German cat. He could be 100 years old.
Yeah, they go after him.
They're gonna go after him. They still funding them. They consistently fund Jewish people. They make sure that you can't disrespect Jewish people at all. They give them all the respect in the world because they honor what the Germans did to them was a horrific crime. We've never received that same honor. We've never received that same dignity. So there ain't a leg that America could stand on to come to me to say, Tazaryach, y'all have to stop talking about that. You have to stop bringing this up. Why do you keep saying to separate from this place? Why do you say you hate us when we're constantly being reminded of said position?
I think there's a point to be made there.
Okay.
I think there's a fairness to that point. Where people get hung up, obviously, is like what we've been talking about all day, where other people are like, well, this was 150 years ago. I wasn't even here, right? And so, and we call white everything, and probably like 75% of the white people are of immigrants, right? Who weren't here. Mm-hmm. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. However, to go back to something we talked about earlier, I think it ties in here. You are of the position that when we did try to take actions that I guess like the people who were taking them for the right reasons would view as trying to improve the situation, at least. Maybe not doing some of this stuff right here, but for example, during the civil rights movement, desegregating things, allowing America to be one instead of this separate whole. Part of your belief system, though, is that we should do that.
So that we shouldn't desegregate.
Exactly. Meaning we should go back to what it was. And you're saying the benefit is because then the black community can be a self-sufficient organization that services itself. Mm-hmm. Is that not, though, giving the powers that be, who maybe in this case, for hypothetically speaking, are racist, exactly what they want?
So part of the reason that I say that is look at the history of desegregation of black people, right? Segregation of black people brought the Brown versus Board of Education, which I spoke about. Our drugs flooded into our neighborhood. They're not flooded into white neighborhoods at all. Our homes being destroyed.
Wait, but that's not true.
No, they're not.
That's
you ever
not
been
true.
into a black neighborhood and a white neighborhood?
Yeah, well, what kind of white neighborhood? What kind of black neighborhood? I've been in black neighborhoods that have no drugs. I've been in black neighborhoods that have a lot of drugs. I've been in white neighborhoods that have no drugs. I've been in white neighborhoods that have a lot of drugs. So if I take
Newark, when I'm driving through Newark, and I'm on South Orange Avenue in Newark because I'm driving up in Newark, I'll know when I'm in a white neighborhood on the same street because the closer I get to South Orange, that's right at the tip of Newark, I don't see the broken glass. I don't see the messed up trees. I don't see the stores messed up. I don't see a liquor store every other corner.
Okay.
I don't see those things. So the way that the black neighborhoods are set up are in total contrast than the white neighborhood. Now, before integration, the black neighborhood wasn't like that. You always hear you may not hear, but black people always talk about the yesteryear where we didn't have to lock our doors. We didn't have to do none of those things. Now, what happened? The CIA along around Reagan and all them, and even before Reagan, had the drug war, where they started flooding our neighborhoods. And so when I'm saying drugs, I'm not saying that there's absolutely no drugs in the white community.
Okay.
I'm really saying at the level that it is in the black community, because we learned later that the CIA was flooding us with drugs. So at the same time they got the war on drugs, they got the war on black people by putting the drugs in there. So that's twofold.
Have you ever seen that headline from the New York Times about that? The CIA with the putting drugs in neighborhoods in America? It's literally, we could pull it up, Alessi, but there was a headline back then that said, the CIA investigated itself on putting drugs in the neighborhoods of America and found no wrongdoing.
Wow. Of course not. Hey, we did the investigation. We straight. Hey, that's what's that? That's a beautiful painting right there, man.
Right there. That's the eyes. Like that. It's off camera right now. I'll put it on camera on my phone, but that's the eyes of nice Great painting. Gatsby from the story. What Dr. T.J. Eckelberg's eyes. Okay. I've always had that in the studio. Just kind of
I like that. So
I don't know if he's a white guy or a black guy though. He's a blue guy.
Hey, art is art.
Yeah.
Music is music. Listen, I used to love Nirvana before he unalived himself. Smells Like Teen Spirit.
So he would just say,
I better not do that. They're gonna make a clip out of Cap is into rock. Entertain us. Yeah, I used to like that.
You know you should. Okay, so Kurt would have been safe.
I don't know about safe, but I like the song. I like the song.
It would have been like, play the goddamn song again.
Put it on. Hey, he go like, it's the 100th time. It's the 100th time.
It's like in Goodfellas when he's like, dance, buddy.
Yeah, dance. And shot him in the foot. Yeah, so it's just, so with the desegregation part, like we lost. Like them drugs like ravished the black community. Like we still ain't survived from that. Like now they ain't on the dope and the crack. You know, they taking every pill they can find because we're zombies now. So when we're looking at it two ways. If I was in that time, I would have been against it. But now I'm not. I wasn't in that time. But history tells me that life before integration, before segregation, before integration, it's better.
Was there not still a lot of poverty, though?
It's always poverty.
Teach me about it.
It's always, poverty is never going to go away. Even in the Bible has laws for poverty. The Bible says when you have your garden, you don't glean the garden, meaning take every carrot, every cabbage, every tomato, you leave it for the poor. It always had provisions in place for the poor. So this is never going to be a society where everybody's rich, everybody's poor. It's always going to be rich, middle, poor. Sure. It's always going to be like that. So did we have poor in the community? Yes. But the church, which was supposed to be the pillar of the community, used to take care of the poor, used to take care of that. And then they started feeding themselves. And so the church is like one of the greatest robbers. You know, Christianity is like one of the greatest hustlers to black people. You know what I mean? And so they don't take care of, and they were the biggest proponents for integration. Why? Because they were getting paid. They're getting money from the government. They get money. Like Al Sharpton, like I always think of like the famous ones, the Abernathys, the Al Sharptons and stuff like that. They get paid to push a certain agenda on to black people. And then we fall for it. Now in 2024, it's a little harder to make us fall for it because we have the internet and the media. But back then, you would go to that pastor, Martin Luther King, which for us is like the greatest sellout ever.
You think Martin Luther King's a sellout?
The greatest.
Because he wanted desegregation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you think he... All right, let's play a hypothetical there because neither of us knew him. But like, obviously, I've always looked up to Martin Luther King because of what he did that you don't like.
You know, his initial... You know, he was going to be... I ain't going to say violent, but he wasn't going to be nonviolent when he started.
What happened?
He let a homo teach him that. Bayard Rustin. Bayard Rustin, who was an open homosexual, taught him to be nonviolent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that was before like the...
That's like before he got into it.
Okay.
So Bayard Rustin was right-hand man, which is weird, but that goes right into line with the black church, because what the black church have, they have the community man right next to him.
Right.
So
but hold on, let's, if he if he teaches him to not use violence, regardless of whatever his orientation is or what you think of him, if a young Martin Luther King then takes that advice and uses it for good and says, you know what, actually, that could be that. Now, you don't view desegregation as good, but just...
No, not the desegregation. Before, even not the nonviolent approach is not good.
Why is that not good?
What did it do for us?
It got what you don't want, but it did get it did get desegregation.
It didn't even get what Martin wanted. Before Martin died, Martin said, I feel that I'm leading my people into a burning house.
When did he say this?
This is let me see if I can find it.
And what's the context on that? Can we look that up? Martin Luther King, I feel like I led my people into a burning house.
And I think you should be able to find him with the quote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Martin Luther King, I feel like I led my people into a burning house, Alessi.
I don't know if this is it right here.
Just because I would love to know what the...
There was a speech where I'm trying to see...
All right, Dr. Martin Luther King in 1967 said, I fear I am integrating my people into a burning house. King said this, quote, in the context of his belief that the nation would continue to experience anger and violence unless justice and opportunity were given to the underclass. He also said the integration did not serve the country well, and that the value of equality was overlooked in the rush to not be separate. King's commitment to fair housing played a critical role in... Wait. Let me read that again for everyone out there. King said this, quote, in the context of his belief that the nation would continue to experience anger and violence unless justice and opportunity were given to the underclass. That makes sense. Yeah. So far, so good. This next one, though. He also said that integration did not serve the country well, which would go along your thinking, and that the value of equality was overlooked in the rush to not be separate. Maybe it's because I got the headphones on and I'm hearing this ring in my head, but what is...
No, you see what he's saying?
What am I missing here?
No, what he's saying is, so I'm going to take the statements backwards. Okay. So he says, and the value of equality was overlooked in the rush to not be separate. So the rush to not be separate, meaning he wanted to integrate, but didn't think about whether we would be equal within the integration.
Right, but so that could, now it's ringing for me. That could mean that he's saying we've rushed to get the integration done such that the integration isn't going to be done correctly, not that the integration shouldn't happen.
Yeah, I'm not, right.
Yeah.
The meaning we didn't think about equality as we're pursuing this dream. We didn't think that, because, listen, at the time that he was trying to do it, black people had no power. Here's when they had the greatest power. When they had that boycott, and they made the people, they said, we're not going to ride the bus. That was the greatest power they ever had, because they got what they wanted because they affected the dollar. Now, what they were supposed to do is say, okay, what else can we do by boycotting and getting what we want? They didn't have to integrate to do that, and then they still got it. When he says he's feeling like we're leading us into a burning house, what that's supposed to at least make us do is not further push his agenda, but think if his agenda, you don't go in a burning house to live, you're going to burn a house to die.
Yeah.
So we got to at least analyze, is he saying to rethink, maybe if we ain't going to be equal, why should we do this?
So maybe he's not a sellout.
No, what I'm saying is he realized it was a horrible mission. He just realized it too late. The problem is the leadership that was with him was supposed to correct what he said should be corrected. Instead, they further pushed it. And what it did for us, for somebody like us, when we go out there and speak about these crimes and atrocities and this so-called hate, they use Martin Luther King and say, you have to be like Martin Luther King.
Rise above it.
Martin Luther King didn't rise above it. He went below it and kept getting whooped and kept getting whooped and kept getting whooped. And even with all that turn the other cheek, they still unalived him.
They did. But this is where it feels like it's doublespeak, because if he gave in to the powers that be and was exactly what they wanted, then why did they all want him dead? Because even, by the way, let's just be conservative here, because I agree with you, by the way. But even if that weren't true and he really were just killed by that dude, which is certainly sketchy to say the least, they did have him on the FBI, like, internal most wanted, like, or most watch lists or whatever, like the Hoover list. Right. They recorded all his shit.
Yeah.
They viewed him as the biggest threat. Oh yeah, all of it.
You know, wait, before you get into that, there's another reason I don't like him. His first woman was a white woman.
Why don't you like that?
Because we're not supposed to well, first of all, biblically, we're not supposed to sleep outside of our race.
Where does it say that?
That's Deuteronomy 7th chapter. Remember, we were supposed to read that.
Right. Deuteronomy 7th chapter, don't sleep with same race. Unless he's already on it.
Deuteronomy 7:2.
All right. So is this what you want?
Yeah.
Deuteronomy 7. When the Lord your God brings you into the land you are entering to possess and drives out before you many nations, the Hittites, Gigashites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, 7 nations larger and stronger than you, and when the Lord your God has delivered them over to you and you have defeated them, then you must destroy them totally. Make no treaty with them and show them no mercy. Do not intermarry with them. Do not give your daughters to their sons or take their daughters for your sons, for they will turn your children away from following me to serve their gods, and the Lord's anger will burn against you and will quickly destroy you. Hold on a minute. Okay, I didn't see this coming. Obviously, I didn't plan this. I never read this before, as far as I know. But in this case, God is saying that it's because those other tribes don't follow him. So if other people
it's saying they're going to turn you from following your God.
Right. So if other people do follow that same God, then they wouldn't fall under this tribal separation. So if a white person believes in God and Jesus or whatever and isn't trying to get you to serve like some fucking sun god or something, then you could intermarry with them.
No. So, and that verse right there, you'll see Solomon lost the kingdom when he married women. And that was a sin. Nehemiah said the same thing. So the point of that is that's why we stay separate. So whites should marry whites, or y'all could do whatever y'all want to do. Africans should marry Africans, but Israelites or blacks, Hispanics, we can own. Now, if I wanted to marry a Puerto Rican or Mexican, I could do that.
They have a nice ass. They have a really good ass. I see what you're doing. You're cherry picking.
Are you saying white women don't have nice ass?
I'm saying they don't have the gifts that the Puerto Ricans do. I'm just saying. Some of the Mediterranean chicks absolutely do. But Colombians, Puerto Ricans, there's a little extra there.
Yeah, so but you can't marry my sisters now. Them Colombians and Puerto Ricans, them is my sisters. You can't get with them. You got to leave them alone. Those for us.
Unless he was trying to get on that.
But Martin's first woman was a white woman, and he gave that woman up because he wanted to be a civil rights leader, and that's why he got with Coretta. But he always loved white women.
Oh, so it was symbolic. He wanted.
Yeah, he wanted the aesthetics. Aesthetically, sidebar. When Kamala Harris was running for presidency, and Obama was making black men feel bad, saying,
that was
you know the crazy part about that? Kamala married to a white man,
a Jewish guy.
It don't get that's white. It don't get, it doesn't get no more hypocritical than that. You telling black men that we don't support this black woman, but this black woman but this so-called black woman don't support black men because she's married to a Jewish woman. I'm a Jewish man, so I said it for you.
But love is love. Like you fall in love with someone.
Law is law. God's law supersedes. If you love God, you keep the commandments.
I feel like I'd take a bet on, marrying a nice Colombian chick and God would be all right with it.
Nah, he wouldn't.
I think he would.
Nah, he gonna punish the shit out of that
Colombian
chick.
We might test that one out. Oh, out of her, not me. All right, that's fine. That's good. As long as it's not me.
That's fucked up.
I gotta protect myself here.
That's fucked up, man. That's messed up. So Martin, he was just horrible because Martin is like the greatest thing in a lot of people's minds because we don't teach to harm nobody. So we don't teach to beat, we're against anybody that goes out there and beats up white people, harms white people, or harms anybody. You have a right to defend yourself. So if you're being attacked by anybody, you have every right to defend yourself. But we don't advocate violence against anybody. You should not do that. But we do have the right to speak out against crimes that are committed against us. And that's all we're doing. when we go out there and speak, we're not speaking about nothing that's not happening. We're speaking about things that are happening.
So you don't have the right to advocate violence against other people, but you can speak about the things that are happening against you as a form of defense. But at the same time, with that logic placed right here, you're also saying God said it's his will that you enslave
your future
us.
judgment. That's your future judgment.
But that means you're going to enslave us. And like, are you going to do it softly and say, "Oh, come with us"?
Hell no.
Right, you're going to use a whip. That's fucking violence. So this is like the shit, and this is
but
the
I'm
fart.
not saying no. Wait, that's the shit. Let me see.
Or vice versa.
That could be the fart. That I'm trying to think which one should be the shit because which comes out. So, because even that we're just talking about what God is gonna do. If, like when somebody say Christ coming back, right? If Christ is coming back, people think Christ coming back to hand out ice cream. Christ coming back to kill. So
he's coming back to kill?
Yeah.
Who's he gonna kill?
Every nation.
All of them?
Yep, the nation's gonna fight. Like Revelation, the 19th chapter says that Christ had the head of many crowns. On his head was many crowns because he conquered nations. Even Christ said, "Think not that."
What do you mean? Is that like a metaphorical?
No, he's gonna conquer. Like when he come down here to rule. Just imagine if Christ comes and he say, "I'm ruling the earth." Russia ain't agreeing with that. America ain't agreeing. They like, nah,
They're gonna be like, "Fuck that war."
Right? They're gonna try to fight.
Yeah,
right. And so he gonna kill him, and then
he's gonna kill him.
Yeah, he gonna kill the shit.
We
out
got
of
a
him.
really good military.
Not that good.
We got really good military.
Not that good.
I don't know if Jesus is packing that kind of heat.
Jesus packing way more heat.
You don't have that Lockheed Martin heat.
Watch, you see, he got something way better than that.
Okay.
If he could come from another realm, I'm pretty sure he got enough ammo.
How's he coming down here and when and who would?
Well, no man know the hour. That's what the Bible says. So I wouldn't profess to say.
So you think when he comes down here, he's gonna come and,
with
for example, but his army might be like the New York City chapter of the Black Israel.
His army is gonna be. I think in Revelations it says 200 million angels.
200 million angels.
Yeah. Gonna whoop ass.
And you can't shoot them because it shoots right through them.
Nah, why you say that? Because what you think?
They're not physical. They're like a ghost.
No, they ain't no damn ghost. They ain't no ghost.
That's how I've seen my angels. You know, they're like.
You saw angels?
No, I'm just saying, like in pop culture. I don't think so.
Oh, in pop culture.
Yeah, usually you can wave your hand through them.
And was he naked too? Because a lot of white angels be naked.
They are. When did this happen?
Like when you go into Catholic church and stuff like that, all them angels be naked.
Oh, yeah.
Little babies and diapers, and that says a lot about Catholic church.
What does it say about them?
They just paid California. They just paid like 800-something million for what they do to them babies.
Yeah, they did.
Lord be with them babies.
It's fucked up.
Don't be in if you in a Catholic church, don't let your child be in the altar.
I don't disagree with that. I think that's a fair point.
That's why you think them angels invisible.
But Christ coming down, his army of 200 million packing heat angels. But you think they're gonna look at you and be like, "Nah, you're good, fam. We're gonna
facts."
Right. I'm gonna chill at your house when that happens.
I'm gonna tell you, I got them all. I got Tommy over here, Julian came. They all
Keegan makes the cut.
Yeah, Keegan.
Miguel's fucking.
No. I'm saying I got them all here for y'all to get them. Not
No.
To come with me.
No. Wait a minute. Don't sell us out. This isn't Anne Frank's closet. Come on. This has a happy ending.
No sweat. Yeah, I mean it's gonna be happy for me for sure.
Yeah, but also for us. You know.
Yeah, I mean y'all just won't. Maybe y'all won't get as bad as everybody else.
But you're saying he's gonna attack everyone, and then whoever's left, like if he doesn't kill everyone, whoever's left is gonna be enslaved by you.
Yeah, somebody got to build a kingdom. How does any kingdom get built? It ain't gonna be magic. Somebody got to lift up this brick, this mortar, weld this together.
Actually, touche here, or I don't know if that's the right word to use, but I recently talked with my friend Luke Caverns, who's an ancient Egypt expert, and we had a very fascinating conversation that spanned 6 hours, and within there was a subcategory where we talked about the history of like the context of slavery.
Right.
And one of the things he mentioned, and he's way smarter at this than I am, but he laid out the entire explanation, is that the way we use the term slave in the context of like ancient history and in text is very liberal. He's like slaves, for example, in Egypt. He wasn't even necessarily talking about the Hebrews. He was talking about all the different slaves they had over the years. A lot of them they might own land. Like they weren't even necessarily slaves.
Yeah, we think about slave from America. Whenever you say slave,
yes,
America, you're getting hung, lynched, all type of back beaten. Whereas a slave could be, sometimes in ancient times, they would willingly go into.
That's right.
Because it's like a job.
Yes.
Like that. So all slavery wasn't bad back then.
So what kind of slavery would you be envisioning? Because like I see the videos of you like out on the streets with like the whip and shit cracking.
Oh, you saw that video?
Yeah, can we pull up that on Instagram? Leslie, go to Captain T's Instagram.
You might have to scroll down a
Tommy
little bit.
G sent me that and he was a little afraid. It was like this might be us. And I was like, wow, this really has an Instagram. So go to Captain T's.
You got to scroll down. It was like the beginning, either end of October, beginning of November.
Go to
Captain.
It's going to be TAZAR.
No, you know what? The Captain's not on it. Just do the TAZAR.
Yeah, just do TAZAR. And we'll pull this up so people at home will be having the video on the screen so you can see it.
Did you put an AR?
It's AR.
Yeah, you put
not
ER.
taser like laser.
Yeah.
All right, taser. Yeah, first
That
one
first
right there.
one.
So now
you
go to
scroll down.
Scroll down.
I post a lot, so you got to.
I know
down.
you're firing up my feed, bro. Some of it's low key. Like I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
but you got to keep going.
Keep going.
It's a lot.
Keep going. I post
keep
a
going.
lot.
Keep going.
Keep going.
Keep going.
Getting close. Wait. No. Go back up. That one.
Yeah.
Right
And top middle. Top middle. Top middle.
The other one right above that.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah. Click that one. So this is some of the. You just cracking that whip. I won't put the sound on so YouTube can't blame me for this, but there's no people being harmed.
Nope.
There's just some good old
listen,
whip.
he was doing
Is
double
he wearing
whipping.
some cowboy like?
Those are fringes on the pants, so we wear fringes on the side of the pants.
Like the Cowboys.
Yeah, I guess you could say
How
cowboy.
very white of you.
That's not white. The original Cowboys was black.
Oh man, here we go.
Y'all wasn't out there doing nothing with no cows.
But this is like a serious whip.
Yeah. When you do it with the sound,
all right, do it with the sound.
He does a double smack.
Yeah, do it with the sound. Turn the sound on.
Put the sound on. Watch this.
Here we go.
Watch it. God damn! You hear that shit?
My ancestors are feeling that.
Hey, this nigga about to crack a whip, y'all. Watch this shit.
I should say my descendants are feeling that. That's a serious whip. So that's what you. But this is the thing, Captain.
You know, the Bible says, "Reward her double as she rewarded you."
That's a reward. That's not a punishment.
No. Wait, that's not in the context.
Oh, here context.
Right. So in Revelation, the 18th chapter, this is what Julian, Helen, and Tommy was talking about.
Okay.
It says, "Come out of my people and be not partakers of her plague." So now it's telling the children to come out of her, and because her stench has gone up to heaven. And then when it's saying reward her double as she rewarded you, it's talking about punishing her.
But do we know that I mean, reward is a nice word. I hear reward, I go, nice.
Remember what you were just saying about slavery back in the day. The word slave was different back then. So the reward is also different.
But so if there's all right, let's say we have a Mendoza line here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Above it is free, below it is not free. We just had the scale different. This slavery, the way we talk about it, is always here, and all Luke was saying is that it's here, but it's still below the line.
Right.
If we have the same equilibrium line there, but on one side we have reward, and on the other side we have punishment. I don't think there's anywhere where reward goes on the punishment side or punishment side goes on the reward side.
So when you look up the definition, it says to deliver, right? To render account. So when you're looking at the word reward, you're delivering something. So it's saying deliver her double as she delivered to you. So if she gave us 400 years, I mean, you got to get 8.
Oh, we got to do 800.
Yeah.
And what's that 800 going to look like?
I don't know.
You don't know.
It won't be like what we went through.
But then that's not double. You're not giving me double.
No, what I mean by the amount of time is double, but you won't be essayed and stuff like that. You know, we won't be doing none of that.
You won't be doing any of that.
Yeah,
There's gonna be standards to your slavery.
Yeah, because we can't sleep with y'all.
Oh, right.
Right.
But what if you just do it with a condom?
I can't stand this motherfucker. Yeah.
Listen,
you can't do it that way either.
I'm gonna poke holes here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give
Poke
you the
holes
idea
after
of how to
saying
hold
condom
power.
is crazy. He said with a condom, and then he said I'm poking holes. That's crazy.
It's a shitty fucking condom.
Yeah, no, we can't sleep with y'all, man. So y'all safe from that position. Ain't that righteous? Is it righteous for those that were oppressed to get vengeance against those that oppressed them?
With the same example I gave earlier, I can think of things where that is the case. However, if I found out that if I met this dude whose great-great-great-great-grandfather essayed my great-great-great-great-grandmother, that's not going to do anything for me. No disrespect to my great-great-great. I mean,
Let's
it's
say
horrible that happened.
let's say if the great-great-great-great-grandfather robbed your great-great-great-great-grandfather of his inheritance and then built his land off of that, by right, do you get to take back that land?
I'm a bad guy to ask this because I would not want to take something that I didn't earn. That's my mentality.
Take back what was robbed.
I know there are people who would do that, but that's not
That's
not
right,
what
but
I would
would
do.
that be right to do? Would he have a right to do that because it was stolen from him?
It sounds like you're talking about depending on the year that the years that would have happened, because this happened over and over again across both sides. But it sounds like you're talking about Israelites and Palestine and Palestinians right now. It's a very similar argument that both sides have.
That land don't
times.
belong to either one of them, but Palestine has more of a right than the Israelis.
Why do you say that?
Because the Palestinians was there before the Israelis, and when you do the history of when they went over there, the Palestinians welcomed them in with open arms. There's a video of them coming off on a boat. The agreement, I think, is it the Beaufort Act, if I'm saying the name right?
It was the 1918. It was the not the act. It was the.
I thought it was.
It was the
called
note.
Beaufort?
No, what the fuck?
It wasn't no. I had debated
the memo. It was the memo.
I had debated a Zionist.
It starts with a B.
On it. I thought it was Beaufort. I could have the. It
was 1917 British memo. Israel.
I think I got it in my
Balfour
PowerPoint.
Declaration.
Balfour,
that was it. Balfour basically. He wrote a one long run-on sentence that he addressed to Lord Rothschild, who was a local Jewish guy within the power structures of England, basically saying that Britain would support the creation of an Israeli settlement within the Holy Land confines. And the context there is that Britain, as it would turn out incorrectly, thought that the Jewish community in the United States held sway over, they had some say within the government power to make decisions in the United States, and they wanted the U.S. to get involved in World War I, which ended up happening, but not their calculation that the Jewish people in the U.S. would be able to make that happen was incorrect. That's not what made it happen.
Yeah, and there was supposed to be a limit on in that Balfour Declaration. There was a limit of 75,000 immigrants that was only supposed to come. So there was a lot of things that the Palestinians were expecting it to be. And then when the Jewish man came in there, of course, we see that it didn't happen that way. And so that's why it's just been consistent war. So I'm not for either. But if I'm looking at how the Jewish man got in there and how he created these treaties, broke the treaties, I would say that they're more wrong than the Palestinians.
Yeah, I mean, people,
but I wouldn't give land to either one of them.
It's the most unsolvable issue in the world
because that land don't belong to both of them. It'll never be peace over there ever.
So you think the land belongs to you? Yeah.
Well, the land belongs to God. That's God's land, and He gave it to the children of Israel, the true children of Israel. So that Palestine, Israel, it's going to be war. I think Joel, the 2nd chapter, when it says He's going to bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. We seeing, listen, man. Biden, we was talking about this offline, but Biden just gave Ukraine the ability to fight back. So Russia, if they didn't really think America was an enemy, they for sure think they're an enemy now. Russia is more of the Palestinian side. America is more of the Israeli side. So we can see what's coming.
I would like to think that's not gonna explode because it's a lame duck type situation. Like Vladimir Putin's a very bad guy, but he's not a stupid guy. he knows that there's a new administration coming in who doesn't even have to be friendly to him, but that doesn't like the idea that this insane war that's being funded by Western nations continues to go on and is incentivized more to make peace. And so when he sees the outgoing administration that has been the opposite doing this, there will be repercussions and people are going to die on the ground because it's a war.
Which is messed up. Because,
it's very fucked up.
Yeah, because it's going to depend on how Ukraine attacks Russia with what America gave them. Because like you said, Putin is smart. But let's say Ukraine just start launching a whole bunch of shit at Russia. As smart as Putin is, he's going to have to retaliate. What are you going to sit there and say?
He will retaliate.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He can't say, I'm going to sit here because this regime trying to set Trump up. He's going to say, no, I need to retaliate because depending on what damage they do, he's going to have to. So we see what the buildup is.
There's no doubt that there is a boiling kettle around the world, and both of these two
and even
wars,
I didn't see that coming. I didn't see Biden, and when we're saying Biden because Biden is the name, but of course Biden
ain't know what the fuck is going on.
He probably high.
They sent him another missile. Great, Donnie. They sent him a missile. Holy shit!
So he's not the one. He's just the face, but he's not the one pulling the strings behind it.
I agree.
So, it's definitely an agenda. And here's the other side. Like, imagine this is what would this have happened if Kamala won? People got to ask that question, too. Because I think there's an intent for them to mess up the regime as Trump coming in. And I'm not a Trump supporter at all.
I agree.
Trump is a criminal.
I know. We laid that out earlier.
Trump
you
is
made
definitely... And he hiring criminals. He hiring people with some shaky backgrounds.
Some of the people, yeah.
Some of them have got some shaky backgrounds, and so we're gonna see a whole show in America. Get ready for the presidential apprentice show. That's what we're about to see.
Listen, he's an entertainer.
Every day we wake up, we're gonna see something
Every
else.
day
He got
there's
a
gonna be
dance.
some form of that.
He got a little dance they doing and everything.
The YMCA dance. I heard that's your favorite song, by the way.
Hell no, you didn't. That's the LeBiticu's favorite song, the YMCA.
You're not dancing with your Diddy oil store?
Hell no. That's the LeBiticu's. That's their favorite song.
We got off your whole oil store there.
We can always talk about the oil store.
There's no GHB in that oil, right?
Nah, THC I think it is. No. No, I don't do none of that.
Sure?
But my oil, like I'm on Amazon and Etsy, I'm what you call a star seller on there. Where
you're a star seller.
Star seller.
Do you sell to white people?
Listen, I'll tell you a funny white story. So this white lady, this white lady buys some of my products. She likes the products. Give me a good review. Send me a picture of her hands. Her hands is like real crusty or something like that. And she sends me a picture and she was like, I really love your body butters and the way that you make them. Do you think you could make me a special one to put some witch hazel in it for me? I said, I sure can.
Witch hazel?
Yeah, so witch hazel must have been good for her. So I made a body butter, put it to the side, put some witch hazel in it, whipped it up for her, and mailed it to her.
How nice of you. See?
Yeah, listen, man.
She bought it. We can all get along.
Economically.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't have to be slaves for that to happen.
Not yet.
Our money's green, too.
All money is green.
That's right.
Green, silver, brown. Well, nobody wants the brown, but...
What, like the pennies and stuff? Yeah, no one really wants that.
Yeah.
I mean, any coins, it's like, they're not convenient. They're heavy.
I remember you used to use coins for laundromats, but now you got to have a card for the laundromat, too, so...
Yeah. What do you think of, like, guys like Dr. Umar, who aren't a part of your movement, but, like, I've listened to him talk over the years and stuff on social media, and he's got a lot of strong opinions. Like, he has the whole, like, snow bunnies thing. Like, oh, there's the black man.
I hate that term, snow bunny.
You hate that term.
Yeah.
Why do you hate that term?
Because it still makes white women look good.
Because bunnies are like playboy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should be like rats or something.
Rats.
Yeah. Like how you call a white woman a snow bunny, but we call black women hood rats. Like that just don't add up to me.
The hood rat is not a good term.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But snow bunny is a good term.
But the way he says it, I wouldn't want to be called that. He's like, oh, you want to get your snow bunny? Like, he doesn't say it in like, ooh, go fuck your snow bunny. It's not like exciting.
But the term snow bunny is not a bad thing. people look at bunnies. It's Easter time.
I know, but we still shoot rabbits. I watched fucking cartoons when I was growing up.
Yeah,
I'll get you, silly wabbit. You know.
Yeah, but he always won. The rabbit always won, and that was a male. That was a hare. That wasn't really a rabbit. That was a hare.
It was a hare.
Yeah. So, but Umar Johnson is a decent guy. Do you know him? I've met him twice, I believe. I've met him twice. I've seen him speak. I think he's a good guy. I just don't like the whole school thing. I don't like that he telling people he's building a school and he's not. But outside of that,
he's telling people he's building a school and he's not.
Yeah, he's been building a school for like 10 years, 12 years.
Like a physical school or like an online school?
A physical school for black. I believe it's for black boys. Could be black girls too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not 100% sure. But the school's not been built. But he's raised money for that. But outside of that, so he's looked at. I look at him as like I would look at a Christian pastor, which is just a hustler. So he's a hustler to me. But he's intelligent on some things. On some things that he talks about, he's intelligent on. So he's not ignorant.
What are those things?
When he was talking about Kamala Harris, when he talks about the educational system sometimes, when he talks about the psychological damage that young boys go through. So there's some things that I'm going to agree with him on, but there's some things that I'm just not going to agree with him on. Whatever he talks about the Bible is false. When he talks about being Pan-Africanism, that's another false thing. So, those are doctrinal differences that we have. But as far as him being a brother, I don't have no issue with him as far as that. I just wish he wouldn't have this school thing hanging over his head. Either complete the school or not. Right. Outside of that, he's all right to me.
I see, like, on social media, you post a lot of cultural influence stuff, meaning, like, you post about the things that you think society is pushing upon what I would take as, like, all kids or stuff like that. I don't even think you're saying it's just black kids or anything. But, like, one of the things that really does bother me across all of society is how early sexualization happens.
Yes.
With not just content on TikTok, but like just in general with like you learning about that. Like they want kindergartners to understand this now, and it's like,
which is weird to me.
Right?
And it's a certain type of sexualization. It's only
what do you mean?
I mean, it's community based. It's mainly the community that they want you to learn about. What I mean by community, the LGBTQ.
Yeah, but even beyond that, like I see it the other way too. I'm not disagreeing with that. But like you will also see that like sexualization of young women to like really young boys, and then also by extension like young girls.
I just put a video on my Instagram. I put a video on my Instagram page of this, and it's so horrific, right? So I try to explain it without being too graphic. It's a young boy, and it's a lady. She's bent over. She just has panties on. And then somebody is filming the young boy watching it. Then the lady sees the young boy watching it. And instead of telling the young boy to go away or recognizing she got these panties on, she laughs with him and continues to bend down so that the young boy can see it. That's over-sexualization. Yeah. To me, that should be assault. And so I agree. Like our young girls, what they putting on TV, what they're doing, it's a lot of over sexualizing that just shouldn't exist. So that's if you saying that's not it's not. I don't really, when I post that, I don't think, hey, I'm just posting this for black people.
Right.
I'm posting it in general because that's what this society is pushing. Sex education, it's just sex. And it's taken away, and that's why. So when a young kid says, "I want to identify as this," or "I want to identify as that," or "I want to have sex," it's going to become acceptable soon, and we're in the beginning stages of it. We're in the beginning stages of the sexualization, and we're fighting against it. But 15 years from now, it's going to be normal, and that's the sad part.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm vehemently, because I got kids. I have younger.
How many kids do you have?
I have 5.
Oh wow.
I got 5 kids, and so I don't want them growing up in that society. And so now you got to battle that all day. Kids should be when I was coming up, man, we played outside, even in the video game age. Like, we didn't have to concern ourselves with how soon before I have sex, how soon before I do this, how soon before I do that. And it's coming through the music, it's coming through the movies, it's coming through everything of sex. That's the agenda of this place.
Who do you think's like pushing that agenda?
That's
like
Hollywood.
The American government?
I don't know if I would say that's American government. I would say that that's Hollywood or TV. That's Hollywood pushes that.
And you don't think that they're one and the same?
Yes, I would just say that that's the department of the one and the same.
Got it.
To push that agenda, because you might have like Republicans. I don't I don't vote, right? But Republicans,
you don't vote.
No, because it don't benefit. It don't benefit. Number one, the electoral already done determine who's going to win. You know, you have the electoral, so that's why I don't vote. But Republicans are mainly more on my way of thinking. Republican, meaning like what I mean by my way of thinking, they're against abortion, they're against that lifestyle. They're more like that, like not too much over sexualization. Not saying that they don't do it, but not at the extent like with the Democratic Party. The whole presidential campaign was damn near abortion, community lifestyle, and over sexualization. You could see that by her having Glorilla, Megan Thee Stallion. Like, and that's why I said when I was saying earlier, she really messed it up for her white constituents, because what white person is going to see you have this Megan Thee Stallion performing and thinking this is what a president should be? It's almost like she sabotaged herself. So you can even see that in over sexualization, because who are they trying to get that attractive to? And the sad part about it is they're not trying to make that attractive to adults. They're trying to make that attractive to kids, because the kids are the ones that get fanned out. When we was growing up, we was fanned out by the entertainers that we saw. So if it was a Michael Jackson, if it was Michael Jordan, whoever it was, even if it was a woman, whoever it was, that's who you would be fanned out by. Even like this Angel Reese, basketball player, they pictures of her, she got her ass out.
A lot, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so now the younger generation looking at that, you know what they're saying? If she can do it, I can put my ass out. And so that's what I mainly be against from the kids, what you was talking about. So I wouldn't say that, I don't think of race when I'm doing that.
Yeah, I've said this before on the podcast, but like, I don't agree at all with China's system of communism. It's horrible. One unfortunate benefit of them having that ironclad system where they get to say what goes is that with their kids, the government controls what content they watch. They're not allowed to watch like TikTok, for example, after a certain time.
Right.
And it's all like their feed is like educational. It's like science videos and like art and stuff. And then you come over here and you look at an 8-year-old and he's looking at titties. And it's one of those unfortunate things where like democracy can be used against itself. Right. Because the freedom and free will can be used by corporations and business and hand in hand with the government or whoever it is, powers that be, to push a certain message that makes them money, lines their pockets, and keeps everyone fat, dumb, and stupid.
Yeah, so if they would have banned TikTok, I would have been for it. Because, like, you got to really change your algorithm. If you're a brand new TikTok user, no algorithm or nothing, and you open your account, it's going to be full of all type of nonsense. I created my TikTok account, and I had to make my algorithm, like I work out and stuff like that, so I specifically would watch, like, workout videos, news videos, and stuff like that to get rid of all the smut that would, normally be on it. I saw this article, I don't know the village, but there was a village that had no access to the outside world. And Americans came, gave them access to the outside world, to the internet. And then the chief of that village said he regretted it because now all the people in his village, the boys, they just watching porn.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so, it's a horrible thing, to sexualization. So I would say get rid of porn, OnlyFans, like America. And that's why America is considered Babylon, is because there's
considered Babylon.
Yeah, because there's so much wickedness you could do here.
Who calls it Babylon?
The Bible.
The Bible calls the Bible knew America was going to exist.
Yeah, the Bible knows a lot of things are going to exist. When
Where does
speaking
it say
prophetically.
That? Where does it say
when it says the daughter of Babylon, that's Revelations, the 18th chapter.
Yeah, but does it say like America?
It doesn't use the name America.
So this is the context.
Yeah.
Metaphorical.
Yeah.
So you're assuming that they're referring to this.
Well, so if someone believes in the Bible and know that Revelations is futuristic, if it's not America, you would have to say, because it says that this is the place of every foul bird and every unclean spirit. So then you would have to say, what other place can you do everything? And I don't know many places that you can do everything, and it's where everybody looks to. And America is that one place that everybody looks to.
I think a part of the problem with the free will downsides of, say, the internet and the internet age is that we're thinking of this in the context of society that includes people from, infants to 100 years old. And we're not considering the fact that when it comes to the internet itself, we are all a part of the same age generation. And let me tell you what I mean by that. If we're going to call Internet 2.0 the real birth of the internet, where people were on it like crazy across generations, talking with each other, throwing out their opinions, fighting, whatever, we're going to say that was the dawn of social media, which I'm going to put at Facebook. All due respect to MySpace Tom, we're going to call it Facebook in like 05, 06, 07. Let's split the difference and call it 06. We are sitting here right now towards the end of 2024. That means that the internet age of people sharing their opinions and using this tool that changes them to a warrior behind a keyboard, whether they're 80 years old or 8. Yep. The internet age is 18 years old, meaning they're just going to college. The cerebral cortex of the internet era has not even formed yet to be able to make good decisions. So it doesn't matter if you came up with that and let's say you were 0 years old in 2006 and now you're 18. You're the same age in the internet era as the 80-year-old who was 62 in 2006. And so we have not yet adjusted to all of the many impetuses, whatever it is, plurally, that get thrown at us to be able to deal with it, because there's no forefathers to say, here's how you deal with it.
This is how, like, to walk them through it, like to guide them through it. No, I agree with that totally, because like once you get online, especially when you get on Facebook, everything is accessible. Yeah. And even what you're saying, the 8-year-old and the 8-year-old, you don't know who's cussing you out. You don't know who you're battling. You don't know who the warrior is. You don't know who this person is or that person is. And you could be battling with a bot for all you know.
A lot of times you are.
You know what I mean? You have no freaking clue. And so you're right. We don't know what to do on the internet. You have to learn. You got to get over the mental illness, which is social media, where your life is predicated on likes now. How many likes you can get? How many? You make a post so that you can see. Let you make that post and you think you popular in your mind and you come back an hour later and it's only 5 likes. You'll lose your mind.
People do. Yeah.
If there's no comments on there, you're looking for views, you're looking for that. And there is no algorithm of control, so to speak. So I actually agree with that statement there. I don't have no
it's going to be curious to see how it adjusts.
I'm afraid.
I am too. I think, but also if you go back to the beginning of it, you talk about like a video first got you into this, and then you laid it out perfectly. You're like, and then you have the suggested tab next there that keeps pushing it to you. So in a way, like this kind of brings it full circle, because you saw something in there, maybe several things in there. Let's give it more credit. Identified with something where you were at that moment in your life, and things you had experienced and things you were thinking more of. And then this happens to everyone on the internet. The cognitive bias of the algorithm that wants to sell you the next thing that is going to keep piquing your interest to keep you on the app, which YouTube is the best at.
Right.
Keeps pushing you that farther and farther, so that all the information you are getting and disseminating to yourself and analyzing is a part of the same kind of source material, such that you may form into beliefs that go beyond what is actually what it is. And let me put this more in English. I'm a huge believer in the universal law of physics. I say it all the time on this show. For every action, there's an equal but opposite reaction, which means the equilibrium is in the middle.
Right.
But when society gets really fucked up, those actions get farther and farther apart, and it's a violent equilibrium. So when I see movements like yours that could form that literally say, like, no, the Bible's telling us we're going to end up enslaving all the people who fucked us up, whatever, I view that as one of these strong actions back against an action that was taken wrong against your people, right? And what I wish we had in society, I wish everyone was here, but like that's not how life works. I wish those pendulums were more here. So maybe you weren't saying, oh, let's go enslave white people or whatever, or let's go do this, or that. Instead, it's like, well, let's fix some of the things that have never been righted in society from, say, 1865, when slavery ended. Could you not see how you might have been pushed a little stronger by the internet itself to believe these things?
In a way, yeah. Like the way you lined it up, seeing a video, seeing a suggestion, seeing and how I got. So without the internet, I might not have seen that.
Yeah.
But my organization was founded before the internet, so it was always there. What the internet did was brought a greater light to what was already existing. Now, fortunately for us in our organization, because we had structure when the internet came, we didn't have to figure out how to deal with it because we already had a plan in place or a structure in place on how to deal with it. So when you have those two forces, the way that the forces would not have to collide, we don't have to do anything because we're reactionary. The only person that would have to do something is the one that wronged in the first place. So if this side wrong, that from 1865 have said that they was going to fix it, but never actually fixed it, if they actually began to fix it, what they would actually do is get rid of anything that we could ever say. Now we ain't got nothing to react to. So the only reason we're the force that we are is because if you keep punching something, keep beating something, at some point, they're going to fight back. So because we're reactionary, it doesn't matter what we do. It mainly matters what this side. Like that side could shut us all the way up if the things that they said they would do, they actually did. What argument would we have? Even if it's in the Bible prophetically for that to happen, we still wouldn't have a fight because y'all not doing anything.
But still, okay, let's stay with that. If that action was here, and I'm calling this action for people listening, not watching, I'm holding my fist off to the right side in this case, just for opposite ends of the spectrum. If that action is slavery, and slavery stops, and really to bring it back to equilibrium, they were supposed to do everything, 40 acres and a mule, all that.
Right.
They didn't do that.
Right.
So the scale just moved here instead.
Right.
It takes longer for things to get fixed, and we still see some of the downstream effects of that. But as society's moved along, when you look at statistics and numbers, it's moved more towards the middle, meaning like we're getting farther and farther away from slavery, and while there's still problems that need addressing, it's not nearly as bad as it was. So why then would the actions, the reaction, still have to be all the way out here? Because now it's uneven.
Because the reason why the reaction is all the way out there, because although we're far removed from slavery, the things that they put in place, while we were free from slavery, that broke up our homes, that put the drugs in the community, is why we still far out here. Because they don't have physical chains on us anymore, but they do have mental chains. They have drug chains. They have all these chains. So they've never stopped putting pressure on us. That's why we can't get close. We can't get to a medium because every time we turn around, there's always just been something to it. Now, really, he's on cruise control. So that force is really on cruise control because what they did with the drug epidemic, we ain't recovered from. So there's no medium that we can meet at.
I see.
Yes. So now, let's say if they did something and created some type of medium, then you would come back and say, look, they did this and they meant it. So why are y'all still all the way out here? I wouldn't have nothing to say at that point.
Okay. Do you have any white friends, like actual friends, like that you go get a beer with?
No.
Is that by choice?
Tommy's the first white guy. I can't say by choice. So even before I was an Israelite, I had white people most white people that I was cool with was like through a job or school or something like that. Like when I was at school, I might have known somebody at school. When I was in the military, I had white people that I was cool with at the military. When I was working, I would have white people that I work with. I go around, when I'm around white people, there's no, I don't talk, we don't have these type. I joke, play football, not play football, but talk football with them, talk basketball with them, go to work with them, get along with them. I remember I was working at this company and it's a Puerto Rican brother working there. He comes to me.
He's safe.
Yeah, he's safe.
Okay.
And so when he comes to me, he was like, yo, they found your videos and shit, right? So they must have, somebody, so like, when you get friends with, so there was this guy, I gave him my phone number. So on Facebook, they must have suggested my Facebook account based on my phone number. And so they playing my video for the president of the company. And so I just start packing up my laptop. I just start packing up my laptop and cleaning out my desk and stuff like that. Cause I'm like, there's no way they're going to keep me at this corporate job talking like that. And so, and he was Jewish. The president of the company is Jewish.
Ooh, double
and
whammy.
So Jewish guy brings me into his office, so we sitting down there talking, and he's like, I saw the video, and I saw, everything that you were saying.
It wasn't the whip video, was it?
No, it wasn't the whip video. I can't even remember the video, but he was like, but you don't do none of that here. I said, I never would, because I'm just teaching. I said, at this job, I'm not trying to convince nobody here to believe what I hear. I'm just doing my job. And I kept my job. I didn't lose the job or anything. And then I left the company on my own volition, and then came back to the company. So when I'm around white people, it's not, you white people gonna go enslave and chain and stuff. I could laugh with them, joke with them. I watch white movies. I watch white sports. Do all that.
See, to me, there's a few things with you. Number one, you're a pretty intelligent guy. You have an in-depth knowledge of a lot of things, even if it's biased in a certain direction. Mm-hmm. Like, you clearly study things, you think deeply about things, you analyze what's going on, not just as it relates to your belief system, but in things in general society. You're also like a really friendly guy. Like, we've been getting along with you all day on and off camera. It's hilarious, because it's like, Leslie, who's coming over today? Oh, the guy that wants to enslave all of us, and we're laughing about it. Right. So to me, and then I hear stories like this where you get along with people, and probably, even if you don't admit it to yourself, even if it's because you have to go the same place as them and that's the only reason it happens, you probably are like friends with them. You probably, if they, like, as a human being, I can see you have a beating heart. If something went wrong and they called you and needed help, you'd probably fucking help them. And so to me, and this is actually something I believed before I talked with you, because I saw your content with Tommy. I talked with Tommy about this, and I don't want to speak for him, but I think he probably thinks a similar thing. There's just a cognitive dissonance in you that says that, like, is able to ignore all the human to human interactions you have that go against the idea that, like, there's this us versus them, that then makes you believe that, you know what, the Bible says this, so I'm going to do that. Sorry, it's God's word, not mine.
Yeah. So, like, of course, the Bible is my blueprint. So when I read the scriptures, it says, be at peace with all men, honor the brotherhood, right? So I'm always going to be at peace with all men unless you give me a reason not to. So you don't give me a reason not to. It's not unlawful to joke with white people. It's not unlawful to get along with them. It's not unlawful to work with them. It's only unlawful, like, to marry them. It's only unlawful to follow their gods. It's only unlawful to do all those things. So because it's not my judgment, it's just the judgment that the Lord gave, I'm a free man. So I don't feel inferior with my power. So what I mean by inferior with my power, I believe that I'm powerful enough and believe everything that I say, but it doesn't make me so inferior that I got to be uncomfortable to have a conversation, to be decent with you, to be cordial, to do all those things, because we see that in the Bible. When Christ spoke, when Elijah spoke, when Joseph spoke, when Nehemiah spoke, when they all spoke with people of other nations, they didn't speak in a God gonna kill you type of context. They spoke in if you're right, you're right. If you're wrong, you're wrong. X, Y, Z, like that. So I just conduct myself just like that. That's how I've always looked at it. My father never taught me to be afraid of people or anything like that. And I just don't think it's wrong if you say something funny. And then it's just my nature. I like to joke sometimes. I'm as serious as I could be, and I have a light switch. So it's like a light. So, like, if, let's say, for the sake of argument, if somebody else came in here and went left field, like a light switch, I would just switch.
What do you mean?
Meaning, like, how we all joking, even though we're having serious conversation, joking, we're doing all that. Let's say if somebody else came in here and changed their whole atmosphere and made it contentious.
Right.
I would flip like a light switch.
And what does that look like?
I mean, it just depends. I mean, it could be. I could be a lunatic. I could be a savage. I could be anything. It's just, that's the power that you have. The power, like, you got to be comfortable enough to know this is the lane that we're in right now. So I don't have to come at you with no information, nothing like that. But if someone comes in on the fly, and I'm pretty sure you're the same way. If somebody comes in here contentious, you ain't gonna be joking in their face when you know they contentious.
Yeah, if you can't loosen someone up, that's an issue.
And so that's mainly what it is. So with Tommy, with you, with Keegan, y'all came with professionalism. So if I don't be professional, then you're going to walk away and say he's a typical black angry guy that doesn't know how to conduct himself. Just like if you wasn't professional, I would say this is a typical white guy that doesn't know how to conduct himself.
See what you just did there, though?
What?
You had to say typical angry black guy. You had to say typical white guy that doesn't know how to conduct himself.
Mm-hmm.
If that were the scenario, the hypothetical one you pointed out, why can't we just say typical angry guy, typical guy that doesn't know how to conduct himself?
Because
why
you
do we have
asked
to make
me,
it race?
Because you asked me about, well, you said, you brought up, do I have white friends?
Yeah.
So when you brought up the white friends,
Okay,
it's,
all
right, that's why I was keeping it separate like
understood.
that. But generally, that's why I said, be at peace with all men, honor the brotherhood. So I'm going to be at peace with all men. That was my first statement. So now that wasn't no race. That's everybody. I'm always going to be at peace with all men unless you give me a reason not to be at peace. Even when I speak about, when I was talking about like y'all and government and stuff like that, I'm speaking collective. I'm generally. Yeah. Every white person is not like that. Every black person, every white and black person is not the same. So that's why I could just, be who I am. I like to say that the Lord gave me this spirit. Personally, the Lord gave me this spirit to be able to come in spaces like this, go in spaces like Tommy's. There's another show. There's a guy named Ralph. He has a show called Killstream. Extremely racist. He don't like to think he racist, but it's an extremely racist show. You're white. I go on their show. I think I'm the only black guy in the Hall of Fame. So I think the Lord has given me a gift to be able to go into these different environments and just be myself without compromising my beliefs.
Well, I think that's an admirable trait that you do go and you talk to anyone, because also I think that I find in this type of job, beliefs can shift upon more conversation and stuff like that for the better when you are open to those conversations. And in society, there's a lot of problems where we're not open to it. But I do think, like, Tommy's doc with you guys was excellent. It was extremely entertaining as well. But like, there are he made some beautiful points in there that I didn't think you guys had answers for. And one of them, to summarize what it was like, whenever you are going to, no matter what the impetus is, whenever you're going to take out something on another person just on the basis of what their race is, that's stupid. And I do still, like, that opinion hasn't changed in my opinion today. Like, I don't think a guy like you who has the personality you do and the people skills you do and the knowledge that you do and the camaraderie that you're able to build with people, I don't think that the cognitive dissonance you have to be able to say that in that moment where God says suddenly, all right, you're on, bring out the whips, I don't think that's conducive to the rest of the person that you are.
It doesn't have to do with the race. It just has to do with the people that did it. It just so happens you're a different race than me.
Isn't that kind of a cop-out, though?
No, because... Is it a cop-out? Y'all, okay, so from y'all side, y'all look at it as we're doing it because you're white. From our side, we're doing it because you're the people that did it to us. Your race... you could be Hawaiian, we'd be feeling the same way.
But you're saying this is because God says it in the Bible, and you're taking it as a literal interpretation. And so what I would say is that if you believe that in this all-powerful God who created earth and loves mankind, even for their flaws, don't you think that, like, if you get up to the pearly gates and you're talking to that God one day, however the creator looks, don't you think that all-loving God would probably not support doing these types of things to other people that have been done unto you? I mean, that's like kind of the golden rule.
No, because God is not all-loving. God is angry. God is a man of war. God is everything. And it's God that said, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. So that God at the pearly gate said, didn't I tell you it was going to happen like that? That's what he's going to say.
You believe that?
Hell yeah. I read it. If I didn't believe it, it would be no point in reading the Bible if I didn't believe it.
How do you look back, like, on yourself before you joined the Israelites? Because you mentioned earlier, like, obviously you spent some time in the military. Mm-hmm. You had your eyes open there with some of the things that were wrong, for sure. But in the years after that, you mentioned you were doing things that were, like, I forget the word. Maybe you use, like, the word sinful or something like that, like things that were wrong. Right. Do you think part of it is, like, you fell into this with that proverbial man's search for meaning because you were disappointed in things in your own life, and so you kind of landed on this because those videos came up and suddenly you studied it?
At the time that I came into the truth, so the part that you say looking for a purpose in life, yes. At the time that I came into this belief, I didn't have no real problem. Outside, now, sins aside, I didn't have problems, really. You know, I had a successful job, decent place, had my kid. You know, I was pretty straight for all intents and purposes. But if you remember, I told you when you watch Minister Society, that guy Sharif, and he was, so I was like that as a 15, 16-year-old kid, where I would be bad, but in the middle of that, I'd be like, man, we got to stop this, we got to stop that. So I always had a desire to change not just my outcome, but my people's outcome. So I always had that. I just didn't see no benefit like in the church. I didn't see no benefit in Islam. I didn't see no benefit anywhere. But whenever we would all be around, I would be the guy that, you know, if they wanted to hear something, they would ask me, well, what does he think about it and stuff like that. So I always kind of had the position. I just didn't know how to channel or how to properly use it. So when I came into being an Israelite, it gave me the space to actually use what I feel was God's gift to be able to go out and do what I do.
Are the other guys in your organization very similar to you, or are there a lot of different types of personalities that kind of...
Yeah, we all believe the same thing, but we teach different. So we're not going to all be one the same. So there's some that are like me. There's some that I'm like them. There's some that are totally different from me because everybody's not the same.
In what ways?
It could be any way. Some might be more aggressive than me. Some may not be as aggressive than me. Some may speak better than me. Some may not speak. So it's just all different personalities. And some people go in different spaces. Some people, if a brother's in charge of our security department, for example, he's going to be more no nonsense than I am. So he's not playing games because he has to make sure everything is secure. So his position doesn't give room for niceness, so to speak, because he's secure. So it just depends on the positions that they're in. So we're different, but we're same spirit, but different functions. That's probably better.
Are your parents still around?
My mother is. My father passed away back in 2009. Actually, my father, 2009 he passed away.
Okay. What does your mom think of your belief system?
My mom is one of the reasons I stayed. So I was before I found ISUPK, I had this dream, and I gave my mother the dream, and my mother was like, you know, that dream means you should keep doing what you're doing. And so my mother she doesn't call herself an Israelite. She's still a Christian, but she supports what I do.
Okay. And to be clear, because we kind of outlined this, I just want to make sure everyone at home gets it. You guys view yourself as the true Israelites,
right? But
you are not Jewish in the sense that you don't think Christ happened. You believe that Christ is the Messiah.
Yeah, Christ. Yeah.
So it's a form of Christianity in a way. In a way.
Well, I wouldn't say Christianity because Christians don't do nothing that God said to do. So, but if a better way to say Messianic Jew, if someone said that term, that would fit. Like a Messianic Jew would fit.
Okay.
Because we are the real Jews or the real Israelites, and we believe in Christ. So we believe in the New Testament.
Where does that leave the regular Jews?
Well, the fake one? The one...
All right, I guess that answers the question.
Yeah, they're fake. They're
okay.
Like Revelations 2:9 says, I know them that say they are Jews but are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. That's
can we pull that up? Revelations 2:9?
2:9, yep. Revelations chapter 2, verse 9.
That's a hell of a picture right there, by the way. Whatever.
That's not me. That's some guys that believe in Kemet. I don't know. That's an unk. Yeah, that's an unk. That's a rod on their neck.
Okay. All right, Revelations 2:9. Well, that's 2:17. Can we click it?
Right there, 2:9.
Oh, I know your tribulation and your poverty, but you are rich, and the slander of those who say that they are Jews and are not, but are a synagogue of Satan. Is that another one, though, where there's a lot more context needed?
No, well, when it says, I know your tribulation and your poverty, but you are rich, that's saying that we're poor, but we're rich in faith, rich in spirit. And it says, and the slander, but in the KJV, it says, and the blasphemy of those who say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan.
Yeah. And why? So you also think that Christ was black. You had said that earlier.
Yeah, the Bible says it.
Where does it say that?
In Revelations 1:13 through 15.
All right. Revelations 1:13 through 15.
Mm-hmm.
Black Jesus. That was my black Jesus growing up, but, that's neither here nor there. All right. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, and one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. I have no idea what that means.
Mm-hmm.
His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as flame of fire, and his feet like unto, this is the line you repeated earlier, were like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. That doesn't necessarily mean he's black, though. That can mean he's like, Middle Eastern, right?
So, yeah, hair like wool. His head and his hairs was white like wool.
Osama bin Laden had hair like wool.
As white as the color, wool is the texture. And then it says fine brass, as if it burned in the furnace, meaning very dark. He wasn't white.
He wasn't white. I agree with that. That's crazy.
Shalom.
Yeah, he was not white.
Right, he was an Israelite from the tribe of Judah.
Right, but also, it doesn't necessarily, because we're playing this game with how we know race now.
That's what I'm saying. We ain't got to use the term black.
Yeah.
But he would be what you call melanated or brown.
Yeah.
And he's an Israelite from the tribe of Judah.
Yeah, can you pull up AI Jesus, how AI says Jesus would look, and then there's another, but
they got an AI Jesus for real?
Yeah, how AI says Jesus would look, and then pull up if we can Google
From the shroud turn, that one.
Maybe, I don't know, I might get it wrong. There was another one I was looking at, but Google on a separate one. What sign? Yes, yeah. The one. See the one on the far right on the inset. Second one down. Oh, on the screen, Alessi.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, right there. So up.
That's the AI Jesus?
Left, up. That one right there.
They're saying that's the AI Jesus.
Yeah, he looks dangerously close to
a
not great person. But that was an AI one. If we can also Google what scientists project Jesus would have looked like.
That's crazy. That first
because this one's not AI. I've seen this one before too.
Good,
if I can find it. Because that hair's looking a little woolly right there. I'm just saying, what scientists have recreated the face of Jesus? Hit images. That's better. Let's not get a fucked up one. Oh, oof.
That looked crazy as hell.
Yeah, he's not good looking
This
there.
is the most legit one.
AI uses the Turin shroud to reveal what Jesus might have. Yeah, but Jesus couldn't have been white.
No.
He's not front. I will agree with that. He couldn't have been Snow Bunny white, to quote Dr. Umar.
Snow Bunny white.
He had to be.
You mean Snow
He
Rat
had
white.
to be tan.
Like Snow Rat white.
Okay. He had to be tan. There had to be. You know what I mean?
The
It was
that
nice
said
out
skin
every
of
day.
bronze as if it burned in the furnace when
Yeah,
he was a dark man.
That can't be it. Yeah, that's another form of AI.
That shroud of Turin, you don't even know if that's real or not either.
Is there anything that you could come across without knowing what that specifically would be that would change your mind?
No.
So
From what I believe?
You're not open to change your mind if presented with better evidence, including biblical evidence that maybe isn't known right now.
No, I don't. So I've been doing this for about 15 years, not a long time. And in that time, I have yet to see any information. And I'm somebody, I debate a lot of different subjects and different beliefs and different Bible conversations and stuff like that. And I have yet to be hit with anything that's made me say, this is what I'm doing is wrong. Or what I believe in is wrong.
But in the future, if you did have something, if you saw something that truly was better evidence, would you be open-minded enough to be like, okay, I could shift my opinion at least?
The scriptures say, let God be true and every man a liar. So if there is something out there that God said to do, I would do it.
All right. Fair enough. This has been fun today, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. I had a ball, man.
You're a funny guy. You're fun to talk with too. You do know a lot.
I appreciate it.
We do obviously disagree on many things,
right?
But I appreciate you having the conversation. And like I said, I'll link Tommy's documentary down below.
Yeah, definitely.
Shout out to Tommy for hooking it up.
Yeah, let me know when you put it out too, man, so I could, promote it on my side and stuff.
Absolutely, will do. I appreciate you coming.
No problem.
Look, you shook my hand and you want to enslave me.
I knew he was going to say that shit, man.
Look at that.
As soon as I shook his hand, I knew he was going to say that.
That's right. We got it on camera, too. Everybody else, give it a thought. Get back to me.
All right,
Peace.
No problem. Peace.
Thank you guys for watching the episode. Before you leave, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and smash that like button on the video. It's a huge help. And also, if you're over on Instagram, be sure to follow the show at Julian Dorey Podcast or also on my personal page at Julian D. Dorey. Both links are in the description below. Finally, if you'd like to catch up on our latest episodes, use the Julian Dorey Podcast playlist link in the description below. Thank you.